right, everybody. We are back, the Goodell Multiverse podcast, and we are talking about Captain America, the first Avenger.
That first Avenger, guys.
Oh, I am excited for this. As you could tell, like in our intro, I am wearing Captain America. So,
I was just having a conversation with Sammy. I need to jump up on my apparel. I have no shirts or anything of Marvel. And I'm like, man, I better get ordering some stuff.
yeah.
Sammy's on it. Don't worry, guys. I will be decked out for X-Men.
All right,
You
just
might
so I
even
can
have
see the-
Wolverine claws for X-Men. It might
yes.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be so fun. I've been looking forward to this episode because, of course, this is my favorite character of the Avengers. I will say, and that is after watching all of the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
I can say that Captain America, he's my man right there. He's good. He's good. Wanda's my girl. Captain's my man. So,
Oh, there you go.
Steve, I should say, just to be clear. So, let's see. So, I will give you a little bit of the history behind the film.
Yep.
And then we're going to get into each act. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about our favorite parts, the parts that maybe didn't work so well for us. I am trying to do a little bit better on my scoring because if you watch any of our episodes so far, I either really hate something or really like something. And so I'm trying to get that in between numbers here or there, but like I said, I base a lot of these scores on my feelings. I'm trying to get a little more logical and factual wise than feelings, but it's Captain America, man. I mean, it's a tall order now. I don't know if I could go based off logic.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's why I'm here, folks.
That's why he's here. He's the good balance. And then ironically, we get to some of the same
Pretty
final
close.
scores. So
Yeah, pretty
it's
close.
I kind of like doing these series.
I just made it a rule to be as critical as I can. So even the ones I really love, you're going to hear me have some complaints. So just because I complain doesn't mean these aren't like the last movies we watched. Watch all of them; they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're excellent. I'm just also going to be as honest and straightforward. So at the end of this, when we give our final list of where we put them in there, it's as honest and straightforward as it can be. Of not just the movie or how it was made, or like all of the details to it. So,
Yeah. All right. So history behind the film. Here we go. Before Captain America, the first Avenger, ever rolled cameras, Marvel Studios had a unique challenge. How do you make a superhero movie set mostly in the 1940s feel exciting to modern audiences while staying true to one of Marvel's oldest icons? The answer became a mix of World War II adventure film, old school patriotism, pulp sci fi, and heartfelt character work. Marvel needed someone who could play Steve Rogers before and after the serum, physically convincing as a hero, but emotionally believable as a small, overlooked kid from Brooklyn. Though many actors had auditioned, including Sebastian Stan, John Krasinski, Channing Tatum, Zachariah Levi, Glenn Powell, Wyatt Russell, and Chris Pratt among the most notable, which, by the way, most of them end up becoming superheroes later in their acting career. The casting director, Sarah Haley Finn, ultimately set her sights on Chris Evans. Now, Chris Evans was initially hesitant. He had already played Johnny Storm in Fox's Fantastic Four films and worried that committing to a long Marvel contract would be too much for him. Marvel reportedly pursued him multiple times before he accepted. At the time, Evans was coming off of films like Push, The Losers, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He was known more for charm and comedy than earnest heroism, which ended up working perfectly. His casting became one of Marvel's best long-term decisions, and I agree to that. Though Sebastian Stan wasn't the ultimate choice for the titular hero, he was cast as James Buchanan Barnes, aka Bucky, still an emerging actor known for Gossip Girl and smaller roles. No one knew he'd become one of Marvel's most important reoccurring characters. Even me at the time, folks, when I watched this. But Oscar winning veteran actor Tommy Lee Jones brought authority and dry humor as Colonel Phillips. Best known for period dramas and stage work, Haley Atwell brought to life the kick ass love interest Margaret Peggy Carter. Her classic screen presence made her ideal for a 1940s intelligence officer. She instantly gave Peggy depth beyond just a love interest. Fresh off iconic villain roles like Agent Smith and Elrond to fame, Hugo Weaving knew how to bring gravitas to Red Skull. Director John Johnson was the perfect choice. He had already directed The Rocketeer, another retro patriotic hero story, and had a background in visual design from Star Wars and Indiana Jones. The movie filmed in London, Manchester, Liverpool, and Los Angeles sound stages. Why in the UK? Many streets still had the architecture that could convincingly resemble a 1940s New York and Europe. Everything had to feel authentic, from vintage cars to World War II uniforms to old storefronts to 1940s military camps, and of course, practical Hydra weapons mixed with retro futurism. The production also had to balance realism with comic book weirdness. Nazis with laser cannons? One of the
Awesome.
biggest, yes, awesome is right. One of the biggest technical hurdles was the pre serum Steve Rogers. Marvel used body doubles, digital head replacement, shrinking effects, and careful camera angles. This was impressive for 2011, and it still holds up surprisingly well. For comic accuracy and faithful adaptations, Captain America First Avenger kept the core elements that made Captain America iconic. Steve Rogers, as a frail but brave kid from Brooklyn, rejected repeatedly for service in the military, chosen because of character, not strength. Super Soldier Serum Transformation, Red Skull as Cap's first great enemy, Bucky as Steve's wartime partner, the Howling Commandos, and patriotic wartime symbol becoming a real hero. To appeal to modern audiences, a few changes were a necessity, such as Bucky was aged up from a teenage sidekick to an adult soldier. Peggy Carter was expanded into a much stronger character. Hydra became more sci fi independent than just a Nazi command. Tesseract tied Cap into the larger MCU mythology. The movie feels different from later MCU entries because it leans into sincerity over sarcasm, adventure over spectacle, wartime commodity, and classic heroism. It's closer to Raiders of the Lost Ark than a modern quip heavy superhero film. At release on July 22nd, 2011, some underestimated it, but over time, many fans appreciate it more because it built Steve Rogers as a genuine noble man first and superhero second. The groundwork is why Cap's later arc in Winter Soldier, Civil War, and Endgame worked so well. For the Rotten Tomato scores, ladies and gentlemen, the critics gave it about an 80%, which is not bad. Audience gave it slightly lower, between 75 to 76%. So critics liked it slightly more than general audience, but both gave generally positive reviews. The box office versus the budget. Now, here's where money talks. Production budget was approximately $140 million. The worldwide box office was $370.6 million. Domestically, it was about 176.7 million, while internationally was slightly more at $193.9 million. The profit picture, the film earned over 2.5 times its production budget, which is a success in
Yeah.
any studio's book. After marketing and theater cuts, it was considered a solid, but not top tier MCU financial hit. It performed well enough to firmly establish Cap as a franchise cornerstone heading into the Avengers just 1 year later. While audiences saw at the time, the reaction was generally positive, but a little more measured compared to later MCU entries. People liked Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. He was widely praised. The 1940s World War II aesthetic felt fresh for a superhero film. Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter became an instant fan favorite. And what's not to like, ladies and gentlemen? Red Skull and Hulk Hydra's comic book villain energy, perfect, beautiful. The emotional sincerity, Cap felt like a classic hero, but not ironic or quippy. Common criticisms included a first act that was seen as slow by some viewers. Some thought was fairly standard origin story. A few felt it was less spectacular compared to other MCU films like Iron Man or Thor. But over time, audiences' opinion has actually improved, especially after later MCU films. It's now often viewed is now often viewed as one of the most emotionally grounded MCU origin stories. Steve Rogers is seen as one of the most consistently well written characters in the franchise, and that is very true, ladies and gentlemen. The film's sincerity aged well compared to more joke heavy superhero entries. Without the first Avenger getting Steve Rogers exactly right, the MCU likely never reaches the emotional heights it later did. Tony Stark may have launched the universe, but Steve gave it a soul. So,
Okay.
that is our little history behind the film breakdown of Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ike, why don't you read to us the official synopsis the Marvel released at the time?
All right. So here we go, folks. Captain America, the First Avengers, follows Steve Rogers, a frail young man who transforms into the super soldier Captain America during World War II as he battles the villainous Red Skull and the Hydra organization.
Right, that's what we're going to see throughout this whole film. What are your initial reactions so far to the history behind the film?
Very interesting with the history behind the film because there's a bunch of bullet points that you just mentioned from Chris Evans. There's a lot of things I agreed with it, but almost over half of them I disagree. So
Oh,
this is going to be a
God.
very interesting episode, fellas, or ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's surprisingly the scary thing about this one for me is it we will get there. Let's talk about the history first. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised it made the money though, because you're coming off of all of them, of all these ones that made a lot of money. And when you come off of something like Thor, which was real good, at the time, yeah, it's, I mean, that could take all the money, you know,
Mm,
that and it's one step closer to Avengers, and that's everyone can't wait, and it's coming. So,
I could, what I'll comment on when my card comes to the money and things like that is it didn't make, if you look at today's standards of an MCU film, a lot of people would say this is pretty bad. That's only because MCU has built itself to such a quality level film that if you get numbers like these, it means there's something low in the quality because you've built your fan base. So far, this is Steve's first film. This is
yeah,
the fifth film overall or fourth film in the MCU. We had what, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor. So yeah, this is the fifth film
yeah,
of the MCU thus far. And um they, as we talked about in our last episode, that Marvel already took a big leap stepping into more of the fantasy style with Thor. And that was a success. And this
yep,
movie was a success too. But what I'll say for a personal point, from me at least, when I was growing up, I wasn't into period pieces revolving history. My dad, he could watch anything revolving like Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers. As I've
yeah,
gotten older, I appreciate those movies more, and I do watch them now. But when I'm younger and I want to watch a superhero movie, I see why the kids were more drawn to Iron Man compared to Captain America. Because this film, really, if you like history movies, even though this is fiction, my goodness, this is great
mm,
for that part. And this is its own little slice of the MCU that honestly, for the rest of Cap's time, we don't get the same type of Captain America. Like, we get Captain America, but for the style of movie, because it's the only period piece set during World War II
yep,
and
that's
things like
true.
that. Everything else out of that is that man out of time scenario. Wow, or that we hear so much about how what made Captain America. So, um, this is definitely, I would say, a little bit more of an acquired taste if you are someone who's a little hesitant on history films. But I gotta tell you, if you like comic book films, this is pretty darn good and accurate. So,
Yeah. It doesn't require any homework. I think that's
yeah,
why.
yeah,
As long as you understand this is World War II, you know who Hitler was, you know what was going on, you know that they were in a war. Everything else is going to be hand fed to you, which is not it's not bad. That's not a slight at the movie at all.
mhm,
It just they're just like just understand when this is, and that other than that you're fine because your villains and your group that he's with is completely fiction. You don't need the Nazis to be like the Nazis were because you don't think you see a real Nazi in the whole thing other than who they were before they become Hydra,
yeah,
or Hydra's obviously fictional as it is. So
yeah.
it's pretty hand fed to you, like, which other things, like when you start getting to X-Men, it would help to know a little history because what Singer did with making it part of history. But with this, you don't need to. It didn't need to do that. So
You're right. This kind of self-explained itself
yeah,
to you,
it
which
did.
is good for the audience, honestly, because you don't have to be a history buff to know what happened in World War II when you watch this movie. Because you
Right.
jump right into Steve Rogers as this guy that wants to be in the army so bad because everyone he knows is in there, and they're fighting literally a world war at the time, and he just can't get in because he's not what
Yeah.
the army would be looking for. And then all of a sudden, he becomes much better than what the army would ever be hoping to get. So,
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
it's yeah, like you just said, and like I just said already, it tells you the history of this, and it shows you that Nazis were real. What was happening during that time was very real, and that Hydra is just an extension of Nazism, and actually kind of like a, how would you say it? It became its own independent thing, which I think the movie did really well with showing you, hey, it may have started with Nazi roots, but Red Skull had bigger ambitions for the Hydra division of Hitler's whole
Yeah. For sure. For
wartime
sure.
plans. So,
Yeah.
which is cool. It sets up for a lot more interesting stuff later on in the MCU. So,
Which, if you are a history buff, there actually was divisions in Nazi stuff, in Nazi lore, where they were trying to find things, like looking for artifacts and stealing things and doing that kind of stuff, because there were part of guys, they actually did believe some of the stuff this guy saw. And Hitler, they were in some weird stuff. They thought they could make zombies at the time. You really dive deep into some of the darker history of what the Nazis started trying to do technologically and weapons wise. You're not far off from the ideas that you see in this movie, to be honest with you. Like, and in fact, I don't think many people realize that Germany during World War II made the first jet engine. So, I don't know if it's the first jet engine. I want to make sure I'm correct about that. But when during uh, any of the aerial battles that we had, they had the first jets, though. The aerial battles at the time, they were very superior because their planes and stuff they had. In fact, anything out of Germany was like more superior. They had a brand of tank that was much stronger than ours. It was just about the resilience and our style of fighting, and overwhelming them at the time is why we were able to win, which is great because we needed to win that. But yeah, so there's actually some truth into this seeking, harder, crazier weapons, and even having belief in some supernatural behind it. That the Nazis even tried to discover. There's some real dark stuff out there, guys. You find that they were getting into. So
well, let's just dive right in, shall we, ladies
yeah,
and gentlemen? So I will read for you Act One,
sure.
and then we'll get into everything about it. So, the making of Captain America. During World War II, Steve Rogers is a small, frail young man from Brooklyn who desperately wants to serve his country despite repeated rejection from the military. His courage and selflessness, impresses Dr. Abraham Erskine,
Close enough.
yeah, who recruits him for the super soldier program. Steve undergoes the experiment and emerges transformed into Captain America. Moments later, Erskine is assassinated by a Hydra spy, leaving Steve as the only successful super soldier. Meanwhile, Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, uses the Tesseract to power Hydra's war machine. So, my brother Ike, what worked for you in this scene?
So what worked in this segment is I love uh this beginning stuff. I like the repertoire between Steve and Bucky in the beginning. I like this how he is. I like seeing him. That I gotta tell you, the special effects on making him look smaller, fantastic.
Oh,
Held up so good. I always wondered. I actually wondered how silly that was gonna look, and man, it looks great. Like, man, he looks like it's him. And I love seeing the origin, or the first time you hear him say, I can do this all day. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of my favorite things that he does. Yeah, that worked for me a lot. I enjoyed that. What also worked for me was the surprise of Abraham. How do you say it? Erickson, yeah,
Erskine.
Erkstein. Yeah. So her name. So I like him because, I mean, Stanley Tucci, man. Like,
Oh,
what an actor! You want to talk about getting grade A talent, man? Woo, he's so good. And it just, that was believable. You know, I like that he overhears them talking, and what gets him interested. I like that Steve is by chance in the right place at the right time. Though that worked for me. That was believable. Sometimes you think, yeah, maybe that was weird. No, it actually worked for me a lot. Does this? Yeah, and when we first, this is the first when we first meet Red Skull in the beginning. What a great this meeting within the church there with. Oh man, Hugo Weaving all day eats the screen up. Holy Lord. He's so good, guys. He does so good in everything he does. And you see it. You're like, okay, this guy is a scary bad. Because he's gonna talk to you like he's your friend before he shoots you. Like you might think you're gonna live, but yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? Like he'll give you a little hope just to take it away. And I like him. And you almost feel like you could negotiate with him. And what's neat about it is you actually probably could. Um, only if he's getting what he wants.
Yes.
If he doesn't get what he wants, it's over. But if he gets what he wants, he might actually let you go. Really, you know, you might be able to get it away with it. Most likely not. You know what I mean? But like, like once again, it all depends. Like yeah, it's definitely he treads a neat line that makes you feel uncomfortable, and but yet still, you know, it's very vulnerable feeling at the same time. You know, um, yeah, I like I love training montages. You know, in the introduction of Tommy Lee Jones, ladies and gentlemen. The great Tommy Lee Jones. Anytime you hear his voice, it's commanding. It's perfect for the role that he's in. You can't get any better than that sometimes, you know. And I like that he's part of this whole program of looking for this guy to do this, you know, because it's not just he's in any unit. The unit that he's in is a unit to prove that you can be the super soldier that they're going to be. And even none of those guys really have no idea what they're talking about until we get there and we see it happen. So, and of course, we get that in this, you know, him turning to Cap into Cap. So that's awesome. Some of that stuff is cool. And the action sequence afterwards is real fun. And the action's great. And you get to see him learn what he's capable of as he's doing it. Finding out he can run fast, seeing how high he can jump, you know, and just learning what he's like, you know. And I love when the kid gets thrown into the water. He's like, yeah, I can swim. Just go ahead.
Exactly.
You know, it's a great, yeah, you skip past the trope that always happens, you know, and it's a lot of fun, you know, and we will revisit this scene later for different reasons, but I definitely, for what we're talking about here, I mean, it does work. It's a good time. What you're seeing works a lot. Um, yeah. When it comes down to, well, how about for you, Sam? Let's go with you. What worked for you before we go? What doesn't
Oh
work?
gosh. Well, uh, like I've said, and you're gonna hear me say this. I know I've said this in the last episode. I'll keep saying it because this is the beginning of the MCU. Whenever you're doing an origin movie, it really is not that hard to tell the story because most of these characters, the reason why we love them and they're popular is because they had such a kick butt origin and they became very popular in the comics that Marvel would even consider them getting their own solo film. So it's hard to make a movie like this and um, get it wrong when the character is already well written. It makes some creative liberties go ahead, but other than that, um, I think for this movie in particular, I think it was really well done. They really made you believe one, the practical effects and visual effects so early on with making Chris Evans look like this tiny little dude.
So good.
Oh my gosh, I'm blown away. We are seeing as we're talking about right now, some of it is on our screen that we have it playing in the background. So it's just kind of cool as we're talking about. We can revisit some things as we're discussing it, and it's crazy how they make him look. It's just I can't get over the practical effects that they did with him, and this isn't even in the the AI time that we have now or anything
Right.
where you can say this was that. This is literally people doing creative things that make him look small. So it really was believable. It was really good casting Chris Evans. So good.
Yeah, genius.
Yeah, I liked it. I think that was really cool. I did think at the time, from what I do remember being young and watching this, that was bold because I knew him from the Fantastic Four films. So part of me thought, ooh, how are you casting Johnny Storm as Steve Rogers? Is that going to work? Guys, it works. It works really well. And I love when we get into Deadpool and Wolverine, how that gets into a little bit
Oh
of that
yeah,
little like, ooh, that couldn't have happened if it wasn't done this way.
that's right. That's right.
Chris Evans, what a man, what a superstar, and how he is able to do this because he he jacked up for this role when
Yeah,
he
my
transformed.
gosh.
part of me is thinking, is that where the practical effects come in? But then you find out that was actually just him.
Yeah. Probably the biggest he ever is him.
Yes, I agree.
Almost ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was almost like, you might be too big.
It reminds me of Thor from Love and Thunder, where he
Yeah,
got,
where it's like,
he
whoa.
just got like, if you could believe he could get amped up, he did. And this is like, whoa.
Yeah, I even think that it's kind of like, okay, Chris, next time you don't need to be quite as big. But
Don't-
that was a little much.
It was too good.
Yeah, because holy Lord, guys, like it's like, look at this guy, he's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love where he's the what's his name? Dr. Abrahams looks at him and says, "Do you feel comfortable?" And he's like, "It's a little big." Oh, wait a minute, it won't be big.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was really cool. I loved how they showed New York City with them going to the carnival. And
Yes.
it was basically Bucky's last night before he was going to be shipped out.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was supposed to be like this double date thing, although Steve kept bailing on him because he just really wants to get in the army.
Yeah, man, just can't wait.
But showing Howard Stark's introduction, and then you got to see, okay, this is where Tony gets it from.
Yeah.
It's so good. The acting, the actor. Oh my God.
You know, may I say, even though we saw a different actor play him and the others, obviously he's older, which is, you could even kind of say, I could see the likeness in it as he gets older. This actor, I noticed I'll bring it up in the other ones too, because I was going to bring it up later, but you just said his name, so I got to say it. He actually does a really good job at having the mannerisms of Tony's dad from those videos that you saw in Iron Man 2. I'm like, wow, just the way he talks and just says things just right, where you're like, okay, he actually studied that guy,
Yeah.
and you can see that's that guy younger. You know,
The consistency.
he's like a nicer Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You know, he's still that kind of arrogant jerk, kind of, but he's nice. When
Yeah.
Tony's kind of a jerk, more of just a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little like hint
It's a
of
good
this
kid,
bigger
yeah.
universe. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Anyways, I like this. I like this first scene. First act, I should say. So, I feel like what worked for me the most was setting up the character for who Steve Rogers is and why he really is already a hero before taking the super soldier serum is really well done. And the moment I'll say that really stuck out to me is when and I know we're gonna mention it later because I know I wrote it down. Actually, I wrote down in this same thing for my standout moment is when Tommy Lee Jones's character. By the way, great casting.
Oh man.
Tommy Lee Jones, you are a legend, dude. You are so good. I love your films. You just I actually would have been disappointed if they did this movie without him in it, just because he just fits it so well.
I could watch Tommy Lee Jones read a book to me.
Oh, oh my gosh. So good. One of my favorite films outside of Marvel is Volcano, that he's
Oh,
a
yeah,
star in it.
yeah.
That's probably within my top 10 favorite films just of all time.
I'm a big Fugitive fan. And him and Harrison Ford.
Ah,
Perfect
so good.
stuff. If you know the reference, you know what he said. I don't care. You know what I'm talking about. Tommy
Well,
Lee Jones.
He's really good at the jokes in
Yeah.
this film. He does it really well. He plays that good type of that general that's a little like a grouchy general that has good quick quips about it they're entertaining but also that drive a point. They're really good.
The best part about his sense of humor is he doesn't ever tell a joke. He just knows when his seriousness makes it funny.
Yeah.
So, like, when this guy says this, you say, he knows I can say it just like I would normally say that at this moment, and that's when it's going to be funny.
Yeah.
And he just knows it. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. But I love it when he throws the dummy grenade,
Yeah.
the fake grenade. And this is where I say it worked for me for Steve Rogers in particular and why I just love him as a character. Even before the super soldier serum, everyone else ducked and tried to run away from that grenade because they thought it was a live grenade. Steve jumped on it. This little dude that if this grenade blows up, he's not saving anybody because he could like blow away in the wind. Still, it just shows his character, and he's just that guy.
Yeah.
He's just it doesn't matter how small he is. His heart is so much bigger. His courage, his bravery is so much bigger. His determination, his tenacity is so good that's where I'm like, this is to amp this up into the super soldier serum that we see in Act One. I tell you, this is
That's your standout moment for sure.
I
Yeah.
for me that is my stand-up.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
That's like that's the character defining moment for me that echoes throughout all the rest of the time that
Yep.
we see Steve Rogers as Captain America.
It's funny you say that because my standout moment is similar. In fact, I was juggling. This was for a while going to be that because it is. It speaks to who he is, which is kind of funny because it's always what he's preaching differently later, right? You know, what's he say to Vision later? It's like we don't trade lives for lives, even though he's very willing to trade a life for a life, which he still is, even at the end of this movie. Um, but I was like, okay, yeah, other things that happen in this that do show further on, like who he is as Steve Rogers. Not only is he the good guy, and not only is he going to be the one that makes that decision to jump on the grenade, so to say, if that means he'll risk everything to do what's got to be done. It also shows that just beyond the goodness of him, that he's smart. He's a very smart man. He's not just a good guy making good decisions, selfless, all these awesome things that this doctor saw in him. He's also a very smart guy. And I love the scene with the flagpole when they're all
Oh,
trying to get up it. And he just kind of stands back looking at it. Because when you think in the future wise, when you think of Avenger, you need a guy like this that can look at a situation and go, what's the best way to solve this problem? And he just walks over and unhooks it and it drops. He's using his weakness that he knows he has and factoring into what he has to get done, and he goes and gets it done. That determination also is something that I think speaks volumes to who Steve Rogers is and why he's good as Captain America, which I think is why we have trouble with all these other actors trying to be him or the thought of replacing him because if you don't have that determination or you don't have that know-all or that know-how to do that and keep the calmness to do it and you keep your head about you even when you know you're the weakest one in the group, then you're going to resort to violence and making bad decisions. We saw Walker do it in the show as Walmart Captain America. So I'm going to say that for my standout moment for that reason because it's like this is another side of him that is just as real as this one is because yours is a perfect standout moment as well, and I think they go hand in hand
they
in
do.
what speaks to who he is as a person and how it carries throughout the whole thing, and what he's willing to do and how he's willing to use his head. You know what I'm saying? I just love he was like pulls the pin and the flag hits the ground.
I love how
It's like
he's heavy breathing from it because they all were just running, and that was a challenge. Is who's the
yeah,
first person to get this flag off the flagpole and give it to us? We
yeah,
can take a ride with Peggy on the way back to camp. All these guys are trying to jump on, trying to climb it and all that, and then they all walk away because they realize they can't do it. He is still huffing and puffing because he's like the last one there because he's the weakest among them. He just pulls the pin, falls down, he grabs it. He's still huffing and puffing with his mouth open, throws it in. He's like, and he sits right in there like, I did it.
yeah. And it kind of and it throws that theme out there that we see throughout the movies going forward. That in his eyes, there's always a way.
Yeah,
Somehow, you just got to find it.
yeah,
And even if you fail at finding it, you look for it because it's there. And that's what we get. That's how we get Endgame.
yeah, yeah.
There's always a way, right? And yeah, it's great. What a great scene.
Oh,
Yeah,
so good. So, out of all this that we talked about and all the high praise we gave it, is there anything in this first act you would say that didn't work for you at all?
absolutely. I I have to tell you, I'm watching this movie, and this is coming from a guy who's seen a bunch of stuff, guys. And I really, really hold story and like continuity and gravitas, or what you would call verisimilitude, is something that is very important. And for the life of me, I can't understand what these two assassins were trying to do when they killed this doctor. You got a Hydra guy who sends out these dudes to kill the doctor, not only kill the doctor, but steal the serum. And you decide to do it when they do their test, when they're all on duty, everybody's there. Everything's going on. So we're going to do it now. And then they do it. And there's this huge, awesome chase. All the action stuff is worth it. And for the guy to get to a one person sub. So you're telling me, so your whole plan was two guys are going to attack, do all this stuff, get away, but one's still going to stay and die because there's only a one person sub that is in the water waiting for him to get away. I don't know. It's just, it felt, this is where this movie went to Indiana Jones for me where it's like, okay, this is the convenience of what we need to do. And it's going to look good enough and be a fun enough action sequence that you're just going to forget that this doesn't make any sense. Because if you're going to go assassinate this guy and take his serum, why didn't you do it the night before when he's laying in his bed? These guys are so dangerous and scary. And I get it. Story guys, I get it. I understand that. I know that that might be being nitpicky. And this, it is kind of nitpicky. But it's just for some reason I couldn't get out of my head. I'm looking at this like, man, this action sequence is awesome. And that's why it's hard to take points away from it because we needed a sequence like this to see him be in Captain America for the first time. But I'm just kind of, yeah, but at the expense of like what? Of any kind of logic making any kind of sense, you know? And this isn't the first time this movie does this for me, but this is definitely a moment in it that made me go, huh, this is a weird, unnecessary moment in this, but yet still necessary. I just wish the writers would have thought it through a little more.
Because I feel like, so the only thing I would say about this scene that to address your what didn't work for you for that is I think that the spies wanted to know if the action was working. So they wanted to
I can understand that.
they wanted to see him emerge and look like the super soldier. And then of course they had bombs planted, so they were all ready to take on this whole thing.
Yeah,
But
they're so infiltrated to set bombs, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It just felt a little
yeah,
sloppy.
I get it. I get it.
And they still only planned for one guy to get away.
Yeah. Yeah, almost like that they which I do agree to that. I because from my understanding, yes, it was a one man sub
Yeah.
that was uh
So
gonna
was the other guy just gonna be like,
got
"Well, we got here. See ya.
yeah.
I
But
want to bite the cyanide now." Maybe that was the plan. Maybe we. You can
maybe
say a lot of maybes, but guys, it's if it's not shown, we don't know, right? And that's kind of not saying you have to be that way, but you can't leave up to the audience to assume that that's kind of how that was going. I can give you that they wanted to see the serum work,
yeah.
and that's why they chose that moment. Cool.
And that's what they're
But
like
their getaway
the doctor.
was what? Jump in a car and drive away. You know, come on. Drive away from a military institution in the middle of the city where it's probably got all the guards in the world, including someone that just come out that's probably a super soldier like your boss,
Yeah.
and you're gonna outrun him and get away. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt a little. It was just we need an action sequence, so this will work, and it did. It
And
did its job.
it was very dramatic.
Yeah, it did its job.
The emotional part of seeing the doctor die, Steve holding him
100%.
as he's dying, and he
Yep.
points to him like, "That's why I chose you.
Yep.
What's in here?" type
Yep.
thing.
I have zero problem
Yeah.
with what we saw. It just when I think story wise, I'm like, huh, kind of dumb. And that gave me that Indiana Jones tickle, which there's good Indiana Jones movies and there's bad ones, and it reminds me of the bad ones. So, but that's it. Other than that, it's fantastic.
It is creative though that he used the lighter.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
The
It's
the
awesome.
lighter never lights up, but that is like the remote for the
Yeah,
bomb.
a
It's
lot of good stuff.
it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, like I said, it's not necessarily what we got out of it. It's just why we got it. It's kind of why'd we do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, for me, I can't say anything negative about
Yeah,
this first part. Just that's just me. I thought things worked out for me. But what would you give your overall score though of the first act?
I give it a solid 8 for sure for that reason.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
And I, of course, being as just like
it's okay.
Americans saying I love you, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. We throw that around sometimes a little too casually, but I I love it.
Yeah, hey, I mean, it's trust me, guys. I I didn't. I don't go into it looking for these things to complain about.
Yeah.
I'm just going to speak what sticks out to me. And
Yeah.
there's even a scene in the movie I think is the best movie in the world that I would tell you doesn't need to be in a movie, and it still makes it the best movie I think in the world. But there's still one scene that you just didn't need. So like I will always be honest. You know what I mean? And that's how we're going to
That
go with
movie
it.
is Dark Phoenix. No, just
Oh
kidding.
yeah, it's a masterpiece. You know, it's a master class on the best filmmaking you ever want to do. You know, if you want to know how to make great filmmaking, Dark Phoenix.
Oh,
It's I'd rather film dog poop.
what which movie would you rather, or which show or project would you rather, She-Hulk or Dark Phoenix?
Oh Lord, that's not even a fair question. I'm gonna say She-Hulk.
At least that had a little more
Yeah.
comic accuracy to a degree.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't break my heart because
Yeah.
She-Hulk to me is a fun character, but nobody I really loved. When I see what they do to some of them in Dark Phoenix, it's like, listen, There's only one thing in Dark Phoenix I enjoy, and that's the sad part. Just one thing. Wait till we review that, guys. It's only one thing I'm going to say nice about that movie. So I'm going to save that though until we get there.
Oh yeah, we will get there. You stay tuned. All right. Why don't you read to us Act 2?
Yeah, Act 2. Okay, so the rising conflict, okay, from symbol to soldier. Rather than being sent into battle, Steve is used as a propaganda mascot selling war bonds. Frustrated, he takes matters into his own hands after learning his friend Bucky Barnes may be alive behind enemy lines. Steve successfully rescues Bucky and other POWs, proving himself in combat. He then forms the Halloween Commandos with Bucky and begins leading missions against Hydra strongholds across Europe. As Steve becomes a real wartime leader, he grows closer to Peggy Carter while Red Skull prepares a final global strike. Bum, bum, bum. So, Samuel, what worked for you in this? And did the pacing hold up? We'll go with both those questions.
Okay. All right. What worked for me was seeing that Steve Rogers, and in all reality, he is a natural leader. He's just a natural born leader. No one had to train him to be a captain, so to speak. What I love about this, it's funny, I wrote this as part of what I didn't like too, but at the same time, the more I think about it, the more I could appreciate it a little bit more for Captain America. How do you make the title and the suit of Captain America not seem too corny and silly? Well, Marvel's like, just play into the corny and silly. And then that just became his persona for being in combat, and it's really kind of cool. So I like that he's like a natural born leader and will strategically take it upon himself to go behind enemy lines to do what he feels is right. Um, that was great to see in that sequence. That everyone was telling him you can't do much of anything, and they were not only throwing him out of the military because Tommy Lee Jones's character, the colonel, was like, "I asked for an army. You're just one soldier. I can't use you." And some senator was like, "Well, you'd be great for propaganda." Which, funny enough, that they did this because that specific way because Captain America, the character in the comics, came out during World War II. And he was made through Timely Comics that later became known as Marvel Comics from the great godfather of them all, Stan Lee. And um he was kind of the in real life propaganda piece for kids during the war.
Yeah.
With comic books. So to make it where they turned him into that in the movie, eh, and it is a perfect way of giving an excuse to give the outfit the way he looks and the title and things like that, and put a face for people to see what our soldiers could look like type thing or what they're doing.
Yep.
The more I think about that, even though it's a little corny, I think it was strategically done.
Yeah.
That way. I think that was a great compliment to what originally had happened in real life. So I think that was kind of cool. Um,
Hmm.
so there's a lot that I liked about this. I like that he decided to take matters into his own hands, and I like that his relationship with Bucky. You could tell it's a genuine friendship. We were talking earlier
Yeah.
about on this podcast about like the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker and how his friendship with Harry Osborn, played by James Franco, felt genuine and deserved more so, which probably is a hot take to people watching this, than Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Ned. That their their
That's right. Oops, sorry.
their brotherly relationship was a lot more authentic, and I think that you see the same thing between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. Their brotherly roles to each other were very authentic. Bucky still was friends with this little dweeby guy, even though he knows that he wants to go into the war. He actually, funny enough, you don't hear people ever be envious of wanting to go into service.
Yeah, it's pretty
You know,
rare. Not only
it,
during this time period do you hear that.
yeah, only during this time
Yeah.
period. And
Yeah.
that's why I think Steve is such an interesting character in and of itself, is that it's not just it's kind of like what happened in real life to America after 9/11. That there's this feeling of patriotism where it doesn't matter what your strengths or weaknesses are. You see an evil that's happening and you want to be part of the change to correct it. And that's what Steve really is during World War II at that time.
Hmm.
We hear that in real life with so many brave men and women in the U.S.'s armed forces nowadays that got into the Iraq War because of how strongly passionate and patriotic they were after seeing their country get attacked. It didn't matter what color you were or what political aisle you're on. And same thing with Captain America. We didn't need to know if Captain America was a Democrat or Republican. We didn't need to know if he was um, uh, racist or not. He's not. But, you know, we didn't need to know all those extra little stuff that we like to divide ourselves with. There was one common thing, and he just wanted to serve his country, and he got to do it now in two different ways. One as this propaganda thing that helps sell these bonds, I believe,
Yeah, yeah.
that would help them with more bullet manufacturing and things like that. So he helped in both the propaganda part and then actually going in and leading and saving so many American lives. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
The patriotism is dripping within this movie. And as someone like me who's very patriotic for my country, and it just so happens to be the same country that Captain America is, it just made me love it even more. So
What didn't work for you?
what there was not much, honestly.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
would say the propaganda stuff that I see now in retrospect the necessity of them filming it and doing it the way it is. But if I was watching the movie, I feel like I don't need to see that part.
Mm.
It never played any consequences later on, other than just a creative way of him getting his outfit.
Yeah,
Which was like PJs. But his
yeah,
first
really
Captain America
was. Yeah, yeah.
and of course wardrobe during that time, making a superhero outfit, I'll give you some slack there because ironically, in this same movie, his own suit upgrades by the end of the movie,
Oh, for sure.
which is so
Yeah.
cool to see in one movie, you know?
Yep.
It kind of reverts back in the first Avengers movie, unfortunately, but oh well, we'll get to that when we get to that. But for this movie, um, it was the propaganda stuff. Maybe it was a little bit too much. It was cool to watch, but it wasn't consequential. So I'd say that I could go about that. That's the best way to say it. What about you? The pacing. You asked me the pacing.
Yeah, yeah.
There definitely were times where it felt like it was slow during the second act. I think it's because they crammed so much into the first act that
There is a lot. Yeah.
yeah, what were they gonna flesh out in the second act to make us stay engaged? I wasn't bored at all, so I'm gonna say that the pacing would hold up for me because of that. But
Mm.
that's probably because I was already invested in the character and just want to see more screen time. Where I can see if you're just a casual moviegoer, an MCU goer, and Captain America just isn't your guy, but he is the guy you're gonna be watching type thing. I can see where that would have been a pacing issue for someone. So there are definitely low points in it.
Okay.
But for me personally, I think I held up. So
Yeah, yeah.
what worked for you in this?
So what worked for me is the propaganda stuff. I actually really enjoy this stuff. I think it's not something I thought I would enjoy, but when I watch this movie, it makes me smile. It makes me laugh. It's fun seeing him struggle with it because you feel like you're getting to know him personally in those moments too, and it's so all over the top, and I think that's what's silly about it, and then later, like when you see in like Spider-Man when he does those videos they show in gym where he's talking about, who do you like to exercise, kids? It reminds me of the propaganda stuff where
Yes.
where it's like, as bad as he didn't like it then, he still went and made these videos.
Yeah.
Like he's like, he's still a guy that gets that this means something, and he'll always be that. So like I like that. That works for me a lot. Once again, more stuff that worked for me was the stuff with Tony's dad. I love every scene he's in with them. I do, and I enjoy that a lot. What? Let's see. The pacing was good. You know, that's why I like this. I like the propaganda stuff. I like the idea of him being put in the back, and I think the pacing of that is great. And I think it holds up to where it's supposed to go. And he does his old Captain America thing where he's being given orders that he knows is ridiculous, and he knows he can make a difference. And when it comes down to Bucky, he's gonna do the opposite and go save his friend. I know some people think that that's something that gets repeated, but in the repeating of it in the three different movies that he has, it's in all different reasons, and it's all for the same purpose. That talk about this is Bucky always ends up being that conduit of the person that's going to get the short end of the stick, whether it's being left behind as a POW in this one, or whether it's being just, knowing that he's a good guy that's being controlled in the next one. And then same with, Civil War, where it's like, we can't let the government do this to him just because they want to control us. And he's going to be the one they use the example of, right? So it tends to be Bucky ends up being the one that takes the brunt of this stuff. And Bucky's just lucky he's got a friend like Steve, man. And Steve is just gonna do what he's gonna do. So yeah, that all held up for me. What didn't work for me in this, I would have to say I'm not a big fan of the chemistry between him and Peggy. You know, I don't have a problem with them having it. Um, why I don't have a problem with it is because obviously at the end of everything, I like that that's his conclusion that he gets with her, and I like that they have it. I believe that there's something there. I don't know. She comes off as too brash for me, and I would just say at those moments I didn't feel the emotional connection. I wouldn't say it's detrimental, but it just didn't work to the point I think they want you to feel it.
I
It's
think
the idea of him having someone that he loves that worked in the future for me rather than their actual chemistry. You know what I'm saying?
I dare I say this, and this could be a hot take, is that I find um Tony and Pepper's relationship more
Way
authentic
more.
than
Yep.
Peggy and Steve. Only because when you watch this movie, to piggyback off what you just said, is that most of the time she's looking at him in somewhat admiration and just like I'm looking out for you as type of figure than more of a romantic interest. And then when you do find out, yeah, he's flirting with her, I'm gonna take you to a dance and you still owe me a dance and all that stuff.
He gives me
It's
big brother vibes.
it's funny how holds that that's something that he just has a flame for. At the very end of the movie, you find out he really has the flame for her, and that he holds on to for so long that it's nice, like you said, when you get to Endgame
Right.
and you get a payoff for it. But it's hard for me to believe that is your love of your life type thing.
Right. Yeah, we only care because we care that he gets it.
Yes,
We don't care that it's her.
and he deserves it.
Right.
But it wasn't where it had to be.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that satisfaction of, oh, that's and she gets it too. No, I just cared that he got a good story ending.
Yeah, yeah,
That he got the love
actually,
of
yeah.
his life. As weird as that sounds, and it might be the only time I can think of in film history for me personally that works. It still works, even though it's one sided. Because often it's like, well, I could give a crap about one of these, which makes the whole love story go to crap, right? But with this, I really don't care about Peggy. I really don't. Like, I see why she's stand out. I think she's a great actress. I don't have a problem with it. I still like watching her when she kicks butt. I like seeing her later when we see her in other things. But ultimately, though, it's like their relationship, though, I just didn't feel like, he could have fallen in love with somebody else, and I still would have been just as happy for him at the end as long as he was able to get that story that he wanted, like Tony said, you should have had a life. Go get a life. And he did. And it's with Peggy, of course, but
Yeah,
it didn't matter.
yeah.
It was just he got it. That's all I cared about. Best character moment for me is Red Skull and him meeting on when they rescue Bucky and now. Red Skull is awesome in this moment when he first takes his mask off and throw his face off and throws it into the fire and then you reveal just the way he talks, his dialogue, the way he holds himself. It's not over the top, but yet it's almost over the top. It can't be enough. And Steve, well, why are you running then? And the doors close. And I'm like, that's a great
That
scene. And like, that's my favorite character. I specifically for Red Skull, but also for everybody involved at that time. But Red Skull specifically, I'm like, yeah, I like this guy. I like this bad guy a lot.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
he's a really
Yeah.
I agree with you that the face reveal, the practical
Fantastic.
effects that they did, because that's all practical effects too. I don't think any of that was CGI. I think they
Boy, it's hard to tell if there is.
because if I remember right, I think some of the behind the scenes footage of some of this is him, Hugo Weaving, sitting in there putting on all the prosthetics to make his nose look the way it did.
Yeah, they might have some touch ups in CGI, but
but
yeah,
overall, oh my.
there's a style to this movie that I have a love-hate relationship with. Where this style works is in those moments. Like in all the high-tech Hydra gear stuff and the giant plane wheel and how everything's way bigger than it should be and how the weapons and how he looks and acts, that works in this style. Some of the other times it doesn't for me. Like with the good guys, I don't care for the style. The action in this is mediocre in this. This might be part of what doesn't work for me. It's the actions. It's not bad, but it's not stand out.
Yeah.
And the stylistic part of it is it's more showy, which is I get it. That's Indiana Jones, and that's what they're going for. It just didn't sit with me well, so
Yeah.
that's where I go with that.
My favorite character moment. It involves a little bit of what you just said, but yours was very more specific. I think my more specific part is within the same scene to a degree and same part. It's Steve infiltrating the where the prisoners were.
Yeah.
By himself, who has no military experience to do any of this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
That it's just like I said, it comes back to this natural born leader thing where he learns how to be quick on his feet.
yeah. I agree.
It's like he's what I like about it is that it's not one of those films where he becomes a superhero and you have to watch him struggle to learn how to be that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's a natural instinct in him already. It's just those that super soldier serum enhanced him where he can do it, execute things in the way he's thinking in his head. We don't have to go through this montage of him learning, oh, I could jump super high, or learning, oh, I can run super fast. It just happens because it's in the moment.
Mm.
I love that stuff. I think that's really cool. You don't have to explain his training because he doesn't need any training. It's just he knew what. Honestly, if he didn't have the super soldier serum, he probably would have done the same thing. He just couldn't break down the door, do those other stuff that only the super strength could have given you.
He'd have tried anyways.
Oh yeah, it
It's
just
just
showed.
now he's able
And
to
like
do it. Yeah.
jumping out of the plane like the way he did in the beginning of the whole thing when it wasn't his time yet. Peggy wanted to get him closer. Like that's completely all just Steve, and it worked so well for him, and it just is a great reminder of you don't want this guy going after you
No, yeah, it's yeah.
because he will know how.
He's gonna find a way.
He will,
Yeah.
yeah, he'll be nice about it, but
Yeah,
also
he could do this all day.
he will do this all day. Yeah. Yeah, so that's probably my favorite character moment is him demonstrating in action his natural abilities.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
Being a leader and finding his friend. He was the only one to believe
That's a
he
big
was
one.
alive, and he found him. And
His friend is like, "Who that? You were smaller."
yeah,
So, but he accepts it real quick.
what was the? I'm trying to remember the line. Bucky says, "Oh, what happened to you?" And he said, "I joined the army."
Yeah,
Something
and like right after Bucky's
yeah.
like, "Is it permanent?" And he's like, "So far."
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's like their banter's great. They're
Well,
great.
that's the one thing about this before we get into that final act there about the movie overall is that one of the cool things that we start noticing in Marvel films, they didn't have to push the funny because it was just a natural.
There's some natural things. You're right. Yep.
And this,
In the character work. Yep.
yes.
Yep.
And this movie's a great example of you easily could have labeled this as like a half comedy adventure. And it wasn't heavy in comedy, but when the comedy came and it landed, it landed. Like
Yeah.
when it was dealt, it landed.
Because it didn't feel like a joke. It felt very, very real, authentic.
Yes.
Between
Yeah.
two people. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think a lot of the films now, when they're trying to say, "Oh, we have to put comedy in there," I feel like it's more of a effort where this is just so effortless. It's just like natural banner, like you said. Anyways, your score on Act Two.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, I did the same thing.
Yep. Very solid.
Yep. All right, I will read the final acts, the climax,
Okay.
the sacrifice, and the man out of time.
Holy moly.
After Bucky is seemingly killed during a train mission, Steve launches a final assault on Hydra's headquarters and boards Red Skull's massive bomber. During their confrontation, Red Skull is seemingly consumed by the Tesseract's energy. Realizing the plane is armed and weapons bound for major cities, Steve chooses to crash it into the Arctic, sacrificing himself to save millions. He later awakens in the modern day, where Nick Fury informs him he has been asleep for nearly 70 years, making Steve a man out of time.
Mm.
All right, Ike, did the ending land for you? Why or why not?
I have mixed feelings on this, folks. This is where the movie goes off the rails on me. Um, the ending lands. I like him sacrificing himself into the ice because it still contradicts him later, but it doesn't contradict him. He doesn't want to see anyone ever give at their expense for his life, but he is very willing to give his. Um, so it's kind of it's a positive contradiction is what I'd like to call it. So I dig that about him. That ultimately in the end he gave his life for millions of people's lives. You know. So later when he's kind of like arguing with the robot like Vision, you kind of want to look at him and say, Steve, he is just a robot. But anyway, but it's like,
Yeah.
but that's Steve's heart though. He's like, if it's not me dying, then you can't.
Yeah.
Not fair. Because I'm going to be the one. That he's also a guy that he's out of place his whole entire life. So if anyways, I often will argue later on, and when we get to other movies, that Steve feels like his time has come and gone, and he's on borrowed time as it is. So he's very almost willing to go the extra mile all the time, because technically he should have been gone a long time ago. But very similar to another character that we've been talking about, like Iron Man, right? Wink. That's why it's so good, those two. Anyways, because it's the same coin, but but from different directions. So, uh, yeah, the ending landed for me. Yeah, I will say that. And I love the him waking up 7 years later. Great ending,
Mm.
because not only is it like now we're present day, boom, there it is, hits you right in the face. And then getting Sam Jackson like that. Sweet. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one step closer to this group movie that we can't wait to see. Excuse me. That we can't wait to see. So yeah, yes, the ending landed. The flight to the landing pad was a little rocky, but we'll talk about that as we go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I honestly, for me, everything you just said is exactly how I felt. Exactly. I even wrote that down when it came to the ending land for me. I'm like, I have mixed feelings. I agree that how they did it was definitely well within his character,
Yep.
him sacrificing himself for somebody else. He will never let someone do it for him. He'll do it for you type thing. I love that he was frozen in the ice and then they found him and he woke up 70 years later. I think that's really cool. Very comic accurate, of course, which
Mhm.
I love comic accuracy, and you need something like this to bring this type of
That's
hero
right.
into the Avengers. He is like the de facto leader of the Avengers.
Yep.
You gotta have him in there like this. I just have to say, and this maybe you could consider this a hot take for this scene or this act, but part of me is thinking, I think you could have jumped. But but I don't know. Like if he was intending on, and this is not a nitpick, by the way. I loved it. I loved how the scene played out. I gave it a good score and everything. I love how when they made this choice of committing him to doing this type of sacrifice, it was well within character. Nothing was deviated. So all great. But part of me still thinks that there could have been a way where he's like, I'm just gonna let this nose dive, but I'm gonna jump out.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have gotten what we got, of course. So obviously that couldn't have happened, folks. But part of me is thinking, what if there was a way they could have made it where he was like stuck on the plane? Something where
Yeah.
he couldn't get out, so he chose to do the sacrifice.
It's funny how we have issues with storyline things at the opposite ends of the movie. Where I have trouble with the whole idea of him running in New York after the guys. It
Yep.
makes no sense. Here, I actually kind of took it as that was his way of like, I'm gonna make sure this happens because
Yeah.
it can't ever. I can't jump out and then look over and see, oh no, the plane didn't crash deep enough or something crazy. He's gonna hold that throttle right down to and he's gonna make sure it. I think it's more of just him following through. Because I agree with you. Jump, dude. Like, just jump.
He's already proven in this movie so far he can jump
You
heights
you'll
and
be fine.
survive.
We'll work it out, right? Like, you walk it off. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, it did kind of show. But there's something that could have happened earlier in this part of this movie that would have made that feel more earned. And I will give you this: it doesn't feel earned that he just stays in the plane and flies it into the wire, for sure. Although I do get that I'm going to do this to make sure it's done. That I get. But you could have done something earlier to make that happen. And I'll get into that. I'll tell you that right now if you want. My biggest issue is this. Bucky died like a bitch. And I think Bucky should have died saving his life. And if he sees Bucky doing something where Bucky did intentionally knowing he's going to die doing it, it would have made more sense for him at the end to also be like my best friend, I'm going to make sure this is gone. Mm. Mm. And then not only that, I feel that the poeticness of that would follow through into Civil War. And why are you always protecting Bucky? It's like, you don't understand. When I was a super soldier and he was still just a man, he saved my life on that train. But he didn't. He just falls like a bitch. And I don't like Bucky going out that way. I know he comes back. I get it. But you don't know this when you're watching this movie, and you don't know that's going to happen. I mean, if you're a Marvel nerd and a comic book nerd, you know Bucky comes back eventually, and you know they're probably going to save that and do that. I think you'd have felt like it was earned if he felt like he was following in his friend's footsteps, where even Steve had to become a super soldier to be what he believes in the most. But he's still his friend, who's just a regular guy. He still can look up to his friend that's not a super soldier, that does that selfless sacrifice. That later on is why he would save his life, because it couldn't have happened to a better guy, is basically what he would say. I would like to think that in Steve's mind, Bucky is everything he wants to be. That's kind of what you get from the beginning of this movie. I'm not saying Bucky's as good of a man as Steve, but that's not how Steve feels. That's not how someone feels about their best friend. When they see their best friend, anything Steve ever probably has ever learned or been protected by or had any kind of life fun, like anything that he's learned in his life towards that in this age of where he is in the beginning of this movie is because of this best friend that he has, who's everything he wants to be. He's seasoned. You're an able-bodied man that can go fight in this war, that I wish I could. Not only that, but you're also part of this great group. Later on, you find out he's part of this great group of guys that kick a lot of ass and they don't die easy and they're hardcore. So not only that, Bucky is the man. Like Bucky's that guy. Bucky's the super soldier without the serum. And I think I think that moment would have been earned more if something was happening on that train and Bucky saw it going down, maybe not realizing Steve would have survived. It wouldn't have mattered. Bucky sees his friend might die from whatever is about to happen and intentionally does something for him to take the blunt of whether it is a shot or a push off the train and they even almost if I was filming it, it'd be almost like they make eye contact where he knows I'm doing this for you, you know? And it's like that would have made mourning him more thoughtful, and it would have made his decision to fly that plane into the ice more understandable because he's going to be like his friend, because he's going to be that guy, because he's the one that had helped to be that guy when his friend was always that guy. And I just think that would have emotionally would have uplifted this movie for the end for me and given that little bit of a taste, because that's my biggest issue is Bucky just kind of and he's gone. And it's like an awful. Any time the CGI was bad was right there. I'm like, man, he's just geez, it's just like a random guy just died, and I get it for the effect of later he's still alive. Cool, I get that. But boy, wouldn't it even be cooler though if you knew that he had saved Steve's life, so that when Steve does see later that he's alive, it's like it would have almost hit more. That's the only thing in Steve's entire story in the Infinity Saga I'd change in the entire saga is his friend died differently by saving his life. And that would have elevated this movie and just added another layer of why Steve is awesome.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree. I agree. I think it definitely would have elevated Bucky too, to be honest.
Well, it would have made us in the future movies be even more understandable. Yeah, he's gonna save him. Because that's what Bucky did for him. I just feel like this is that emotional thing this movie didn't have towards the end. Because my other issues with this act is who the bad guys went from I was okay with them being the sniveling bad guys that they were, and we're doing great, and then we get to this third act, and we still have yet to really see him do something god awful. And like, oh man, I know you're bad. You've killed some people out of distaste. but you really never tested our hero in the sense of 90% of this movie is them running from Steve. Which, okay, that can make a good movie. I'm with you. But there's no moments of dread for me when it comes to Red Skull, which sucks because there could be, because he's scary good and he's scary bad. And like, I kind of would have minded if that last hey, why can't we just go knock on the front door? I would have rather that been a trap and it been a harder situation than it was. If we're not going to see those commandos again because we're going 70 years into the future, that'd have been the perfect time to kill every single one of them in a trap and have it at the hands of Red Skull. That's all I'm saying. I know it never happened in the comics, but if you're never going to see them again, anyways, well, that's the one thing you could change in this continuity of the MCU on movies is what if Steve's plan fails at the end and he has to improvise, which we know he can do, and he improvises and we still get the ending that we get. But then we also get a taste of Red Skull that makes us go, yeah, you better beat him because, geez, he just effed you up. Because he never really does. They get the best of Red Skull by flying across a canyon and breaking into glass in the windows of in the middle of his encampment. It just makes no sense to me. It's the Indiana Jones nonsense that is fun to watch, but logic goes out the window. And that's my problem. It was style over story at this part of the movie. I mean, it would have been great if they're in there. They do exactly that same scene, and they all get in there, and then Red Skull just yeah, well, just by the way, this is where I wanted you to go, and then you just start seeing these guys getting picked off, and Steve dealing with that, and that would earn him flying the ship into the ice, right? It's like he felt like this mission was my mission, and these people are all dying. I have to finish it, and I'm going to see it right to the end, which means I'm going to put the nose of this thing right into this, and I'm going to be here doing it. Yeah, we'd have been like, hell yeah, Bucky would have, because he did for you.
Yep.
But that's where this failed for me.
I agree to that. I think that would have been a better.
That's my hot take, by the way. When we get there,
Yeah.
that it's two Indiana Jones, and yes, guys, there is such a thing as two Indiana Jones. So sorry, I kind of blew the secret of my hot take of this because it really is a big part of that last act. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this movie's bad because it's still a great freaking movie, guys. It's just when you nitpick, like I want to come in with a very definitive list at the end, right? These are my problems with this movie. So, and this Red Skull just not did not get his due.
Yeah. All right. So, your best moment though.
In the last act, the best moment I will have to say, boy, I really like it when he comes up out of it and he's there with Sam Jackson. And I do like. I mean, I know it might be a cliche best moment, but that really is it's a great snap ending. And I like movies that end with a boom, like, boom, wow, that's cool. So I'm gonna give it that. I'm gonna give it to that.
I always forget if that is the post credit scene or just part of the movie.
Right? Me too. I forgot that this time too.
This is early on in MCU where post credit scenes are still new.
Yeah.
So I like what we saw in the Incredible Hulk and with I think one of the Iron Man movies, they put the post credit or the mid credit scene what we would have considered it now, just a tag at the end, so it is part of the
movie.
I mean they're both part of the movie, but you know what I mean.
This is more part of the movie.
Yeah, that's the main part before the credits roll.
Yeah.
My best moment I would say is I like the dialogue that Steve has with Red Skull.
Yeah, me too.
I think that I do agree that I think the Red Skull was a little bit underutilized, and I want to say I think that's in my hot take to be honest. But look and see since we already spoiled hot takes. Uh, yeah. I did put on there that he just want to make sure I'm saying it right. I put on there he is a great villain, but he is a little underutilized. I would like to see what he will look like modern day because he's more formidable in the comics when he goes in the modern day like Steve does. Then to see how that would have happened. But anyways, besides that, the dialogue though between Steve and Red Skull really good. Really good dialogue, how they wrote it. I love the mannerisms. Hugo Weaving does just a great job at
Oh yeah,
um, and I like seeing the contrast of Steve with a super soldier serum and then Red Skull with whatever version of that was.
yeah,
That it really highlights the I don't want to say two sides of the same coin type thing because I feel like that's a cliche, but it really highlights that someone really good what they're like with that super soldier serum versus something really bad and their bad
that's right.
intentions and motives with a similar serum
That's right.
because that's how they get their origin to a degree when Dr. Abraham explains to Steve why he's German and he's there trying to recruit for the American military and all that is that he helped him become the Red Skull.
That's
He
right.
regrets it. And he wants to find the counterpart to that could defeat him. And that's when he found Steve.
Right.
And I think that kind of begs a question that we're gonna get into a little bit later, but I'll just touch upon it right now. Um, is a soldier serum kind of its own character? Throughout the MCU, it feels like that I wouldn't say its own character, like it's an own living entity type thing, but it's such a unique um serum treatment, whatever you want to call it, that it's not just something that gives you superpowers, it enhances the
Any qualities,
natural
good or bad.
the qualities that you have.
Yeah,
Yes, that's why it's so hard for them to try to pass the mantle of Captain
correct.
America onto others. It's because there is no one like Steve Rogers. And I think that that's one of the only Marvel's biggest mistakes in the comics. Like we always needed Captain America, so therefore we have to give it to Sam Wilson, we have to give it to Bucky Barnes, we have to give it to this and that, which actually Bucky is a little bit closer
This is
to
the closest.
yeah,
Yep.
to Steve, but still it's not Steve.
You
And
can't give it to Bucky though. Well, he already has it, but yeah. No, anyways, continue.
but yeah, no, you're right. But that's just one of the things, and maybe that's just a gripe I have overall, excuse me, of like the comic book industry itself, is that you've made it where the the mantle is more important than the hero.
Uh-huh.
Or when the hero, and this could be a comic hot take, everybody, but the hero will eventually pass on. Shouldn't that mantle that he embodied pass on with him?
Yeah.
I feel like we should. I this is how I want to say this, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here for a little bit, but when Sam gets the shield from Captain America,
Uh-huh.
he I want to say this right because I don't want to mess up, and I had it perfectly in my head a moment ago. Is that what they do in the comics is when Steve is not here anymore, they just give the title to someone else. When I feel like that is who the character is. When you think Captain America, you think of Steve Rogers, and it's not because anyone's racist or sexist or
Nothing
whatever.
to do with it.
All
Yep.
those is star out there. It's just
It's
simply
character.
because that's the character. It's the same thing I feel like with Black Widow too. Like Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff. Yes, Yelena Belova is a Black Widow, so to speak, but the Black Widow, that's Natasha Romanoff
Yeah.
when you say it.
Yeah.
And it's like if you do it with any other character. I just feel like that we hold on to the mantle of it, like we always need Captain America no matter what. And Sam says in that scene, I can't picture a world without Captain America. Or is it without Captain America or without Steve Rogers? Either way, they really are one and the
I
same.
think it's without Steve Rogers.
Without Steve Rogers,
Yeah.
yes. And he gives him the shield. I get it. I do feel like that is a natural progression of he's giving it to him because he thinks he should be the one to carry it on. But I don't know if it's
That's complete fan service.
proper to carry it on. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree.
And I don't mean this with disrespect to Anthony Mackie. I don't mean this disrespect to Sam Wilson as a character at all, but like Captain America as the hero that we know should have died with Steve. And it feels inauthentic to continue it on after that. and try to say it's still Captain America because you just can't duplicate Steve Rogers.
Yeah, you're touching on it perfect because this is one of those things that is one of Marvel's kind of silent failures that they've done from the start, which is like Thor with who's able to wield the hammer, right? We had a whole discussion about what does it mean to really be worthy of the hammer, because I don't feel like Thor earned that. So what's it mean to be worthy of the title of Captain America, or to be that good, or to be Steve Rogers' version of Captain America? It's and just like they say in both of them, it's obviously it's more to be Thor than the hammer, right? And it's more to be the hammer than Thor.
Mhm.
So anybody can be a Thor with the power of Thor through the hammer if you're worthy. And just like this scientist tells Steve, this accentuates not only your strengths and your ability, but also who you are as a person on the inside. So if you're someone that's bad, you're 10 times more evil. If you're someone who's good, like he sees in Steve, you're 10 times more good. So once again, when you look at that, what Captain America does that Thor didn't do was earn that. Steve earned that title by being that good already. So when it accentuates it, it makes it even better. There's no one I can think of right now that he should get that, you know, especially Sam.
If I would have gone a fourth Captain America movie, I would have ended it with Sam saying Captain America is gone with Steve Rogers.
Yeah, he should have put the shield
Yeah.
down.
But I think it would have been a more interesting movie. One, if they took the Falcon and Winter Soldier show and turned it into a movie, I think it would have been a lot more interesting than what we actually got. And we'll get to that when we get to that, guys. But it would have been more interesting of a movie for that one to say the American government wants another Captain America, and Sam and Bucky and all of them are trying to protect the legacy of Steve and to show that no one is like Steve and that Serpent Society, you name it, get that all together. But at the end of the day, when that movie is done, Sam makes the announcement to the world that the world always is yearning for Captain America, but to face the reality that we've all had to face since Thanos, Captain America is no more. We do need more heroes, but we don't need another Steve Rogers because there's only one Steve.
Well, the sad thing is though, is you're correct. But the sadder part of it is it doesn't have to be that way. They could write in if you are a good writer, you could make this work because they did it right in the wrong movie. You got to know some of them. I got to be sitting back looking at that Brave New World movie, going, "Boy, he's not Captain America, man. We messed up." And then someone's got to be watching Thunderbolts, going, "We just made Captain America out of Bucky."
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The most Captain America moments I've ever seen since Steve was in with Bucky in Thunderbolts.
Yes. Yes. His scenes in Thunderbolts reminds me
Who
of
messed that
what
up?
America would have done.
Yeah.
Every inch of it.
Who didn't sit back and say, "Wait a minute, guys, you're writing a Captain America right here.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, we messed up. We put this in the wrong movie." Because that's the problem. Like,
Yeah.
I would prefer Bucky be Captain America.
I
than
agree.
Sam.
I agree.
Even though I don't think Bucky should be Captain America.
If they had
But
to
but
do
if you had to,
if that had
hell
that was like
yeah.
we must have a Captain America again. Bucky is the closest one to
He's
it.
the Captain America Thunderbolts. Holy cow.
Yeah.
He is their Captain America.
Yeah.
If they're the new Avengers, he's the Captain America of that group.
Yeah.
No doubt. And that might be where your intention is. But you did so bad with the other Captain America that you want to be the real Captain America.
Yep.
That this one overshadows it. And it's kind of like, get rid of that one because he's good as a bird.
Yep. That's what I'm interested to see in Doomsday, how they're gonna
Oh,
tackle that with Steve.
that's probably the one thing in Doomsday I'm not looking forward to the most is dealing with the fact that he's going to be freaking Captain America the whole time, and how we're going to deal with that. That's probably the one thing I might be dreading more than the X-Men stuff is him and Steve meeting up, and them. Hey, buddy, look, we're both the same guy. I'm gonna be like, oh my god.
I agree.
We're gonna have to just swallow that because that's what they're gonna do. That's exactly what they're gonna do.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
to a tangent, but it was much needed, and it needs to have been said. So might as well say it now, and we will repeat this. Okay. Biggest issue.
Yeah, I think you just got to finish that up, and then we'll do our score.
Yeah, you already talked about
Yep.
your biggest issues, and I think did you already mention if your climax was earned? You think?
Yeah, I kind of put it all rolled into the ending. Yeah, because I went on a whole tangent. So
I didn't have too much of a biggest issue other than like I wrote on here. I think he could have jumped, but I'm not gonna say
I'm with you.
that
Yeah, I told you how they could have fixed that. But
that didn't make or break it for me though.
yeah,
Emotionally, yes, I think it was a great origin story to big Captain America.
agreed.
I would give the ending of this a score of 7 out of 10.
I give it a 6.
We're close.
That's close, guys.
Yep.
That ending saved them. The last 10 minutes is
Yep,
great.
it
But leading up to it made me just go, oh man, I really hate how Bucky died. And it really bugged me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I would have been so. Yeah, by the way, it's on, folks, in the background, and it's literally there it goes. He's gone. Look at this. I mean, so yeah, make sure you put a picture of that up and edit. No, but it is the worst. It's there should have been a moment where something was going to happen to Steve, and they just looked at each other, and Steve even can say no, and Bucky just does something, and you're just like, yeah, Bucky, and then he dies, and you're like, oh, that's sad, and then later have him see a vision of it while he's flying the plane into the ice. Come on, guys, if you're not tearing up right there, I don't know who you are, man.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. I'm gonna cry over that more than I am about Peggy missing him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because she looks like I don't know. I like her, but she's a tough cookie, man. Like, and, like I'm just saying. Like she looks like 20 minutes later. She's like, "Well, that's over." But
we get to the deep dives of the casting and performances. We're going to be a little bit similar on some of that.
we might be
probably for the first time since we started this retrospective.
Yeah.
For the female lead for me personally.
Yeah.
Anyways, post credit scene. What happens? Steve is shown furiously training in a modern boxing gym, struggling to process his new era. Nick Fury approaches and tells him there is a mission with worldwide stakes that require his help. Leads directly into the Avengers. Yeah. All right. So, what? Actually, we don't have the. I don't have the rating right on here. Let's just go right to the post credit scene. Then we'll time. The post credit scene is a teaser trailer for the Avengers, showing quick shots of Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Loki as Earth's mightiest heroes prepare to assemble.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
How important are these post-credit scenes to the MCU?
These are probably the most important ones, at least the one.
Yeah.
That teaser trailer to the Avengers was the culmination of holy cow, this is happening. And not only is it happening, but it worked in a trailer. Because it could have looked stupid. And it didn't. It looks like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this to happen.
Yeah.
And there it's happening.
Hype level 100%.
100%. Both did great job. The one prepared you, showing him kicking and doing all this thing and being Steve, awesome. Very kind of, I'd say, an unnecessary post-credit scene. I think you could have ended. I don't think you needed this post-credit scene. I still give it 10 out of 10 because there's nothing really wrong with it. But like him waking up in modern time at the end of the movie, I think was good enough.
Yeah.
But then to see this trailer, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that was the in stone. No matter where this Marvel Universe project they have is going, we are at least going to get a team up movie of all these movies we just saw over the last how many years.
Yeah. And
that's a big deal.
This is a great successful launch to do something like that. I don't think any film franchise would be this ambitious to do it like
They're on the verge of making history right now.
Literally. Yes.
Yep, literally. Yep.
I put on here how important it is very much and very cool to actually get the trailer to a film as the post-credit scene.
Awesome.
Fun fact, this has only happened twice in MCU's history with this movie.
That's right.
And then the second time at the end of No Way Home from Spider-Man, you get the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer as the post-credit scene. Which, at the time...
Yeah, we were hyped. We were hyped.
So hyped.
Yeah,
it's just... We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's why I think we're going to get it again at the end of Spider-Man. We're going to get a hardcore Doomsday trailer. It's going to be a boom. This is the knocker. this is a Doomsday trailer you've been waiting. It might not be
You know what I
this
think
one.
would
It's
be-
going to be the one that makes you go, "What are we looking at?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
I think we should, at the end of the Avengers Doomsday trailer, get a hardcore Secret Wars trailer.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That for me
Just hit
personally,
us
I
with
think
one.
that
Boom.
would be cool. Be like, oh, you can't wait till next year? Here's a little sliver, and be like, a whole trailer. We have a whole year to talk about this one trailer.
With-
Forget the rest of your marketing campaign.
When they ushered out Lord of the Rings back in the day, the first teaser trailer to Lord of the Rings showed the Fellowship walking up over a hill, and it said, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, coming Christmas 2007, right? Or no? Was yeah, 2007? I can't remember.
Yeah.
2000, whatever. Or 2001.
The first one says on one.
Oh my God. Hold on, folks. We're gonna have to make sure we double check on that. But anyways, it was it said the Fellowship of the Ring coming out 2001. And then it keeps going. And the trailer goes Lord of the Rings
2001.
2001. And then the trailer keeps going. That same teaser trailer keeps going and goes Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers 2002. And then it keeps going and says The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King 2000 2003. And then that's the teaser trailer for the first Lord of the Rings movie. Holy cow. You know, and these Avengers movies, the way they did it like this made me feel that way. I'm like, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like, give us this stuff. Like, show us that stuff. Like, I like it when movies do that. You're 100% correct. Like, do that thing, get us hyped. I would love at the end of Doomsday, we get to the very end of the credits, and it's a 2-minute full trailer of Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Just boom, no teasers, no can't wait. No, we're just gonna give just it's a year away. Give it to 'em. Give that trailer to us and make us just seep for the next one.
Yeah.
The Matrix did that. Actually, at the end of the Matrix, you get a trailer for the next one, and at the end of the second one, you get a trailer for the third one. They did that, and it was that successful. And whether however you feel about those movies at the time, I remember seeing them. They were like mind blowing, and they were way yeah, they were cutting edge. So even even in retrospect, that the sequels weren't as good. When you got done watching a sequel and they give you a trailer for the next one, you couldn't help but be excited because it was left on a cliffhanger, you know. So like I think that's do it, Marvels.
Yeah.
Just have fun. You know, have fun with it. But I would love to see that. But this did that. This Avengers trailer was a perfect. This is when it needed to happen, and this is when you're ready. We're ready now for the Avengers, man. Like now we need to see this.
My score 10 out of 10.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Yep.
All right. Deep dives. Casting. Best performance for you.
I'm gonna give the best performance in this movie to Hugo Weaving as Red Skull.
Nice. Okay. Hey, he deserves it.
Yep. I'm not, I'm not taking away from everybody else in it. They all did a good job. But I gotta tell you, man, that guy just he brought this unique, just enough silly campiness as a bad guy to it, but enough to make me want to see him just wreck house. And as good as the performance was, I still wish he was able to do a couple things that would have been even more scarier because it had been a little more a little more memorable. So I'm gonna have to give it to Hugo on this one. How about you?
I put down Chris Evans.
Good choice.
He, obviously, not only is he the title hero, of course, but he was. I can honestly, if I had to really reevaluate this, I could put him as both my best performance and surprising performance, just because I didn't know at the time. Mind you, I was really young too, but I only knew him as Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, so I didn't know how that would translate. Would it be believable for me because I'm already used to that actor as a certain Marvel character already.
Gotcha.
But it was great. But yeah, I'm just gonna label him just as my best performance, favorite. My most surprising performance though is Stanley Tucci. He is such a good actor. I put him
He's
as
so good.
yeah. He doesn't really have too big of a role, but he's big enough in the role where he just he can act the crap out of a good German accent, like really, really
Oh yeah.
good.
Yeah, he's real good.
Yes, and I believe he's Italian. Tucci is Italian.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He sounds like a pretty average Joe, but
Yeah.
he's always been good at accents. He does that in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
He plays a lot of different.
Very, very good. I was surprised by his performance. I actually really liked it. So, who's your most surprised?
My most surprising performance I put for is Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Why I say that is because it's someone that wasn't that well received all the time. I liked him as Johnny Storm. I enjoyed those Fantastic Four movies back then. a little more than others. I see the faults in them and where they went
Yeah.
wrong for sure, but they're not hard movies to watch though. They're actually still. Hell, I just watched one the other day for the fun of it. I was like, oh, I can watch this one again, and it didn't blow my mind, but it is what it is. And but I saw a movie with him called Cellular at the time before this had come out. It's a very good movie,
Very good.
and I was surprised how awesome he was in it, and I was like, man, this guy could be a really good action star. And then when he did this, that's why it surprised me, because when I saw him in this, I'm like, oh, you're a good actor too. You're not just someone that is a good action star. You're a good actor.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, he's on my top 5 of the best actors in the MCU. Like the outside of the MCU, best actor wise, he's in my top 5 list. He did a movie called Puncture, where he's plays a lawyer who's trying to help nurses sue pharmaceutical companies to make needles that once you use the needle into a person's arm, the needle itself goes back up into the pen of the needle, so then they can't get stuck again and get diseases. Great movie, and his character is a guy who's a drug addict who's also an excellent lawyer. And I highly suggest go watch Puncture. Nobody talks about this when they talk about him. And it's phenomenal. He is so good. He has a scene in it, guys. I cry. It's like I cried. I watched it and it brought me to tears, this moment in this movie with him and another character. And it's phenomenal. And he's done this before. I think he's chosen poor movies of recent to be in outside of this. But then he shows up in Knives Out, and he's so good in that. He does a great job. I like Chris Evans, but this though, I put it as the most surprising, because like I said, I just thought he'd be a fun action star, and when I saw he was cast as this, I'm like, good choice, because we can watch this guy do this. And then the acting show him. He plays Steve so subtle. Like there's no overacting. You could easily overact this good guy persona, and he does it. He does it. He keeps it just enough. But then pulls it back just enough. I'm like, yeah, I like this guy. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, those needles you talked about, they actually do exist.
Yeah, they do now. This movie's about how that happened.
Oh,
This
nice.
is a true story. This movie is just that Puncture movie is a true story about how that happened. And actually, when you watch that, it's heartbreaking, because it's what a mess that was. There's a very big controversy behind why a lot of hospitals wouldn't buy those needles, because there's folks, whether we like it or not, there's even corruption in our pharmaceuticals industry. There's lots of money involved. There's people involved that they have a product they've been making a ton of money on forever. Someone comes along with a new one that threatens their way of life. Before you know it, it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, this movie, if you want to see a little eye opener about what that means behind the scenes of that, watch that film. It's the true story of how those needles came to be. And it is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, Sam, that'd be a great watch sometime for one of our episodes. So great movie. Yeah.
Which are weakest performance?
This is the only time I'm ever going to say this. The only time I'll ever say this. Ever. It's Sebastian Stan. And it bothers me, because he's on my top 3 of the best actors in the MCU. If you look at the stuff this guy's done outside of the MCU, folks, he is a hell of an actor. He is one of the best guys. I actually, when I hear he's in something, I'm like, I need to watch that. I don't care what it's about. He even played Donald Trump real well.
Played Donald Trump.
Yes. You might have to look it up. I do believe him and Jeremy Strong are in this movie. Look up the title of it. For some reason, it's leaving my mind, but he played Donald Trump. You could probably do Sebastian Stan Donald Trump movie, and he's good in it. Like, he's great in it. Well, no matter how you feel about Donald Trump, folks, he's still a person that someone's going to play as a character, and that's just it. Evil, good, love him, don't love him. We're not going to talk about that here.
You like him or not, Donald Trump he's Donald Trump.
He's a character himself, and he plays him well. Just like I'll say, Josh Brolin plays an amazing George W. Bush in W, which is another movie you should all watch if you haven't seen it. But like,
oh my gosh,
well, you show it. Yes.
Sitting image to young Donald.
What's the name of that film again, Sam? To tell everybody.
Oh my gosh, yes, the Apprentice.
Yes, it's fantastic. Yep. It's basically about the guy. It really is more about the guy who taught Donald Trump everything he knows.
Yeah.
Played by Jeremy Strong. But Sebastian plays Donald Trump, and he's awesome as Donald Trump.
The likeness.
It's sick.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
He does the same thing where he plays Tommy Lee in that one of the Pam Anderson one, the TV show where he plays Pam's husband, Tommy Lee. It's called Tommy and Pam. Oh, he's so good. He plays a cannibal in a movie called Fresh on Hulu. Watch it; it's great. I mean, I'm telling you, the guy's fantastic. But boy, he sucked in this, and it's not his fault.
No.
This is the writing.
Yes, I completely agree. I put the same exact thing down.
Yep.
Between him and Haley Atwell. And
Yep.
sad to say that, but it's probably the first female lead that I would say was probably Liv Tyler. I did put her as the weakest, but I also put her as this is the most surprising. So they take out a grain of salt. But I put them kind of as neck and neck, and I felt bad saying that because I kept thinking, oh, I can't put Sebastian Stan. But then as I'm trying to be critical on all the performances and what was given to them for the script, like he did a good job for the script that they gave him, but
Agreed.
it's
just garbage.
They wrote him as a side character,
and then like you watch him fall off that train, guys, and you're like, what the?
Yeah, I do agree that
It's awful. That could have been way better. And he's got the chops. Now look at him. He's awesome in the MCU. And he's so good. I can't wait to see him when I see him.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to his season.
Yep.
Anyways, all right, so casting wins for you.
Yeah, not many misses, guys. I think this is a very well casted movie. I'm not going to go on maybe the guy who played. We'll go somewhere else with that. Never mind. So the casting win for me, though, for sure, was bringing Tommy Lee Jones in.
Oh,
Because you brought the gravitas. Here he is, the one, the only. If you're going to put anybody in charge of training a bunch of guys and be the leader and just someone that exudes any kind of power, but still has a warmness.
Yes.
And smart, but still silly.
Yep.
It's Tommy Lee, man.
Oh.
Like, Tommy Lee Jones is one of the best actors that we've ever had, ever will have. And he just being there. I don't even know how hard he had to act. I think he just come and talked and left. and if that's the case, it's awesome, because he's just so good in it. He's so good in it.
I agree. Wholeheartedly. I agree. I think that was perfect. I put that Chris Evans for me was a casting win.
Yeah, that's a given, right? Yeah.
And
yeah.
I will say Haley Atwell, even though I put her neck and neck with Sebastian Stan as one of the weakest performances, she is a casting win.
Yeah.
She has this a presence about herself that makes me want to say, I want you to be Steve's girlfriend, the type of thing. Like she's just, and she then get a spin-off show after this, through ABC Studios. They're called Agent Carter, where she does 2 seasons, and she could helm her own show.
Yeah,
she's just that
I
good
agree.
of an actress.
I agree. Yeah, it's hard to come up with a miss because I think the whole thing was casted well. Truthfully,
Yep.
It's if there's any miss in the casting, it's the misuse of the writing of the character, not the casting itself of it. So,
is there any missed opportunities or wasted potential you would say?
Yeah, Red Skull is my big missed opportunity. And that's part of my hot take, which is why when we get there, we can skip the hot takes because we really jumped into them already.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything hotter than that to say, other than what I've already kind of said about a couple of the other things. But yeah, I feel like, man, if you could have, if you couldn't do it in this movie, I feel like let's see him again be, and we never get that, unfortunately. So missed opportunity is I needed 1 or 2 scenes of him being freaking just. Or bring in the stakes.
Yeah,
bring in the stakes, man. Kill the commandos. He should have alone killed them. Like, they should have come in, and there should have been a whole scene where he, as an evil super soldier, kicks their ass and kills and murders every single one of them, and that makes Steve, holy cow, you know what I mean? Like, because we're never gonna see them again, anyways. And that's, to me, that's just would have made it. Like, we have to beat this guy. Like, you have to.
That's what I put as my missed opportunity. My wasted potential is the Howling Commandos, because
they're a little flat.
Yeah, they're a little flat, but you know what? Honestly, in my opinion, you could have done a Disney Plus show of the Tales of the Howling Commandos.
I agree. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That picks up after World War II when Steve was done, and just have them fight Hydra soldiers.
Have them hunting down old Nazis hiding from everybody.
Yes,
sick.
That would be so cool. Because it was a great.
And they meet up with Magneto.
Oh my gosh!
I know, I'm just going way out there.
Find a young boy named Appalachia.
Yeah, and a door to a secret world of dinosaurs under the crust of the earth, with Nazis riding them with lasers. Come on. Maybe some ninjas? Come on. No, but I
Anyways,
think you're correct. You could have
they
had a
went to
great.
10 rings.
That's right. You could have had a, you could have had a great fun spinoff with them. Or like I said, kill them. You know, if you don't want them to be so flat, have heartwarming moments where even as Red Skull's choking one out or holding one up in the air, he looks over at Steve like sorry, and he dies. Steve's like bah, and everything goes crazy and they're fighting. I mean, what the hell? We miss out on you know. But hey,
All right, I'm gonna go through this like really quickly. This is the one part where I really usually don't have too much to say.
mm,
Direction and production.
you know,
Everything for me was very good. For the direction style, the cinematography, the action quality. I think I will say the action quality gets better for Steve all the films after this one.
100%.
This is just a basic period piece World War II, bare minimum action type stuff. I would even dare to say that the Wonder Woman movie that is supposed to be a World War II period piece with Wonder Woman has better action scenes than Captain America First
Oh,
Avenger.
I agree. Well, that's one of my DC hot takes. I think that Wonder Woman 2 movie is way better than people say it is. We'll get there someday.
Yeah, everything for me very good. The music, every we've talked about this in past episodes, and we totally agree. The music sucks for
Yeah,
these
what's
movies,
wrong? What happened these first few movies?
but this one is just
Thank God for the next one.
yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, it's full of this is just has very Americana
it's like blah,
piece
ba,
stuff.
ba, 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 ba,
But this
ba.
is stuff like I said, you can find this on SoundCloud and download it as a
Yeah.
ringtone. It's not anything fancy.
You know, and no offense to the composers, if you're big time, maybe
Sorry,
you just don't stay. It just doesn't. I'm just not. I have a playlist on my phone of soundtracks of movies, and none of these are on there.
what Fox got right for the Marvel characters, both Fantastic Four and X-Men, is they had a distinct
Theme song.
theme song and sound to them that I mean, I could listen right now in my head to the Fantastic Four for 2005, their theme.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's very distinct and very cool. And then of course, I'm sorry, but my hot take for the X-Men, the films from Fox have a better theme song
Gosh.
than the 90s cartoons. And I
So
know
good.
people love the 90s cartoons and it's popular. I get it. I like it too. But those films do something to me.
When they go into those montages and
Oh my
dude.
gosh.
Yeah.
It's so good. Anyways. Oh, so what's your take on that whole section?
It's the same kind of thing, you know. This is like okay, it's directed by a guy. I don't see any kind of like signature on it.
Yep.
Not like I did in Thor, where I could see, okay, this is definitely a Kenneth Branagh. I mean, obviously at the time, Kenneth Branagh didn't have like a signature; he was still early in his career doing that stuff. But afterwards, when you realize it's him, it's like, oh, obviously that's the guy who did. It's a guy who made it. Yeah, it's a clearly that's a guy who can make a movie that we just watched. This you could probably tell me this guy's name 100 times, I'm gonna forget it. And this movie doesn't do anything for it. The visual effects I think are a little better in this on in certain things, especially
Yep.
with young Steve
Mm,
or small Steve, I should say.
yeah.
Um, so where the visual effects really needed to be good, this movie did a good job with, I think.
Yeah.
Except Bucky falling off the train looks like garbage. Just because the moment's garbage. And the action quality, it's for me that's a problem, is it's style over action. It's style over story as well. There's a style to this that is very Indiana Jones reminiscent, and where it might work for Indiana Jones, just for me, felt kind of flat for Captain America. Not saying the stuff that we saw wasn't appealing and fun and a good time, but in a rewatchable sense, I was bored with this movie the second time. And that's where, sorry, but a big portion of how I decide to where to put this on a number scale of these movies is how many times can I watch this movie in a week? Because I try to watch them as many times as I can in a week before we do these. And honestly, we've only really had the time myself to watch them twice.
Yeah.
I maybe watched Iron Man 2 like partially the third time, like an hour
Yeah.
of it or something. But if I try to at least get two viewings in, if I can.
And Hulk was unbearable to watch this.
Oh my,
I was
it was a
shocked.
drag.
Yeah.
But this got close to that too. This had times where I literally fast forward. I'm like, yep, yep, yep. Okay, that's what I wanted to see because I forgot about this, and that's not good, you know. And a lot of that is because some of the action was I don't need to see this moment of action when I think these movies, as going further, going after Avengers, we don't have movies. Not a lot of them are like that. they actually do care about every moment that there's at. Like it gets better, guys. I'm not saying that this is because this is yeah. No matter how negative we all sound, these are still great comic book movies. Some of the best you're ever going to see. Started something that's the most amazing thing we've ever watched. So this is just once again being as critically critiqued about it as we possibly can. So but yeah, so that's my issues. And once again, like you just got done saying, man, the music sucks. Like it's just nothing memorable. It's not okay. I take it back. It doesn't suck. It's music. It don't hurt the movie. It definitely doesn't help it either. So
Yeah, that's true.
sorry, I shouldn't say it sucks. I do apologize. It's just not there.
Distract us from anything in the movie,
No.
but at the same time, there was nothing memorable about it that stood out to us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and well, not unfortunately, good movies have good soundtracks. Plain and simple. Whether it's songs that are picked to be in the movie or an actual orchestrated music, good movies have good soundtracks. 99% of the movies that you ever see me put on like a 100% perfect that I would put on the top tier of best movies ever made, all their soundtracks. Not everybody's gonna like every single one of them because of taste, but they're the one of the qualities about the movie that is discussed is their soundtrack.
Frozen.
Sorry, no, no, but Interstellar, Jaws, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
When if you say name the top three things that come to your mind about all three of those movies, the soundtrack's one of them because they're just iconic,
Yeah.
And Sammy and I just watched F1. That soundtrack's fantastic, fantastic. So it's like. And it doesn't have to be Jaws. It doesn't have to be as big as that to be the best soundtrack. It's not about best. It's just it fits that movie. I love a movie with a good soundtrack, man. You get me in that soundtrack, I'm good to go. And these didn't have that, so yeah. All right, we can skip hot takes.
Skip hot takes we already talked about.
Yeah.
And catch them. Rewind back a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Quick fire questionnaire. Best scene of the movie for you. This is hard, honestly, for me.
Yeah, I thought and thought and thought, and I decided to put in the one I talked about earlier. I love that scene where they meet on that bridge when the factory's blowing up after he saves Bucky. That's my favorite scene. That might be the best scene of the movie. And why I say that is because it's one of those that I'm just eating it up when I'm watching. I'm like, man, I'm forgetting I'm watching a movie. I'm really into it. I'm loving every second of it. This is a great moment. So I'm gonna take it for that. I'm sure there's definitely argument for definitely better scenes. Maybe between him and the doctor when he is talking to him about his, being a good man and all that. That I guess, but that I wouldn't say it's the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. So
I personally had a hard time with this because I had a couple scenes that I would say were I liked. I already talked about in Act Two. My favorite scene was him being stealthy, getting into the prison camp. I really probably should have put that as my favorite scene of the movie. But I do like the transformation scene.
Yep.
So I wrote that down as the one for just this talking point here, just because that was I thought it was really cool to actually see that done as someone who read the comic a long time ago and then see how they put that into realization is kind of one of those. It doesn't look exactly the same because drawings and all that are different, but by golly, they made it look so good. It was just so good. And to me, that's the beginning of Captain America.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers was always there, but
Yeah.
beginning of the Captain is right there. So
That's good. I like that. I like that.
all right. I couldn't write down the least best scene for me because
I got one.
guess mine would probably be similar to yours with Bucky dying, or maybe you guys would different.
It it is Bucky dying now. After we've been talking about it, I keep realizing how bad that is. Um, but I think there's two scenes that are equal to me. That whole train sequence is stupid. I just don't like it. First of all, you're zip lining. You gotta go before the train. You're not zip lining as fast as the train. That's not happening. I get it. There's logic. It's style. That's the Indiana Jones side of it. I don't like. And what was the plan? Get those guys on a train, trap them with one soldier with this big gun. They come. It's just awful, guys. The other scene that I just really had a hard time with, and it's one of the villain scenes that I wish wasn't in the movie. It's the only time that made me question whether Red Skull was good or not. And the rest of everything else he does is great, but this one particular scene made me cringe a lot. And that's when they're testing out the Tesseract. And he's just like, I didn't come all this way to just be safe. And bitches and all that. And I'm just like, this is so like, this is dumb. Like this felt like, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is that campy that went a little far on the campy. Like, back off a little bit. Both those guys in that ate that. I just feel like when they were done, I feel like in my mind's eye, Hugo Weaving's like, that's what you want? That's what you want me to do? Because it just was like, it's so, I didn't come here to be safe. And he pulls the lever. Part of me's like, what if they just exploded right there? This movie ends, right? Like, oh, just by chance. I'm not playing safe. And he pulls the lever like some old stupid movie. Like, I don't, I'm sorry, guys. It bothered me a little. That scene just was a little, the camp was a little high. So you could have it made me cringe a tad. So, but I don't know if it made me cringe as much as Bucky off the train. So I think those two scenes for me are hard to pick between. So those two really took me out of it.
Your best villain moment.
His introduction in the church while he's still with the regular face. Because when you see the red face guy, you're not trusting that guy for nothing,
No,
you know?
That's a dramatic.
Yeah.
He's like struggling to, and then
Yeah.
slowly, it's like, wow.
And there's no one he's going to walk up to with that head, and you just be like, oh, you look like a good guy to talk to. No. But this first guy, though, doesn't seem as scary until he wants to be.
Yeah.
Like I said, you feel like you can negotiate with him almost, but you can't because you know you're not going to be able to. Like, okay, this guy is your friend until he's not, you know, and he might just be your friend to get what he wants to get. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
Well, my favorite villain moment was kind of, to me, it demonstrated how scary he was when the one soldier came running up to him. By the way, he has the classic bad guy car. I'm sorry, but when it's showing the montage of Captain
I kind of like
America,
it.
I like it too. But he's Captain America's with the Howling Commandos taking down all these places, and they're pulling out
yeah.
Nazi flag and putting down the American flag or Britain flag, whatever it is. And when he pulls up in that car, and it's a dramatic like vision with a camera. It's like Clone the Film pulled up.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh! I'm like, such a classic villain car, but it fits him so well.
Yeah.
But my favorite villain moment is when one of the guys runs up and says, we couldn't defeat him. We were all killed." And then he says, "Evidently not." He shoots him.
Oh,
Like,
we fought to the last man. He says, right? He goes, evidently not.
he's
Yeah.
like, "Evidently not." Like, that's so good.
Yeah, it's good.
Great line delivery.
Yep.
Anyways,
Agreed.
most punchable face for you.
For me, what's the name of his little scientist buddy?
Artem Zol.
I want to punch that guy right in the face. Every time I see him and he talks, because he's just snivelly, 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 snivelly. And it's like, just shut your mouth, dude. Like you just shut up. I can't do that. I'm just,
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like him. I just don't like him. Like, punch him in the face.
Yeah, I should have said him, but I put, and I heard his name. That's how, the only reason why I have it in here is when I was watching it, I wrote it down. The one that they chose to be the soldier for the super soldier.
Oh, okay. He's got a, yeah. He needs a good nod.
And cocky and all that stuff, but
my first gut instinct was the bully from the movie theater who goes to the movie and acts like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a jerk. I mean, even if you don't like him, but he does get punched in the face.
Yeah.
So it's good. But yeah, and no offense to the actor who plays that little scientist guy. Like, he's a great actor, but jeez, I just want to annoy him. I just want to deck him one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how Red Skull did.
What I find so funny is the one scene where Red Skull gets done blasting the other Nazi generals, and then he says, "Hail Hydra," and then his soldiers in the background go, "Hail Hydra," and they put their fists up. Then he gives this little, like, big eyebrow look to Artem Zola sniffling in the corner, and
Like,
gets out.
Oh, they're really evil.
He gets out and is like, "Hail Hydra!" And then when he's being interrogated by Tommy Lee Jones's character, he's all for him. But yeah, when he's in his presence, he makes it seem like he's there as a prisoner.
Yeah, well, he's like, I'm seeing how evil he is, and I'm stuck, and I can't get out of this.
Yeah, and then
but yeah, you're with the good guys, and you're acting like,
yeah, I feel like because he could do it. He could take over the world. Like,
yeah. Someone hasn't punched you in the face, have they yet?
Exactly.
That's what Tommy should have said. You need a good punch in the face.
I love when Tommy Lee Jones says, "Oh, does cow give you the rumperly tumperly?" Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's so good.
Anyways, so next step. One prop you take home.
Whew. I picked 2.
Okay. This is hard, because this thing is full of props.
Yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind a little vial of the super soldier serum,
Yep.
like on the desk. But honestly, if I had to really pick one thing, I like his first shield.
His first shoe. I thought about that too, but part of me thought that's too big as a prop. Just hide.
It'd be kind of cool on a wall, though.
Well, I wrote down the soldier helmet the Cap uses for
Yeah.
values mission because it's just it's one of the showgirls ones, but it has the A on it so that it just trickles into
Yeah,
his overall
that's a good
continuity.
pick too.
Like, and then that's unique to that movie as that because
Yeah.
he doesn't wear that ever again. So
I think the obvious one would be the Tesseract.
yeah, but I feel like
It'd be neat to have one, but
that would be cool. But I feel like that could be even a prop from the Avengers.
from a lot of
Tesseract shows up so much, so yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, most underrated moment.
Um, yeah, most underrated moment. I don't know. I think there's more overrated moments than there are under, so I'm gonna pass on that one.
Okay. Um, I actually can think of an overrated moment, so I'm gonna let you take that on. But I'll say my underrated moment was the scene of the doctor with Steve explaining the serum and why Steve was chosen. I think that a lot of people, and we see this evidently with even the filmmakers, forget why Steve was chosen to be Captain America, why he was chosen for that serum and to take on that mantle. And I think that since Endgame in particular, they've had this influx of who can be Captain America. Are we going to do this? Or is it going to be Wyatt Russell's character is going to be this, and be like, you forget how Captain America became Captain America to begin with. And I
Yeah,
feel like if they just rewatch that scene and have it re-explained to the filmmakers and writers behind some of these future projects, they would know why you just can't make another Cap.
yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
So, anyways, that was mine. What's your overrated moment then?
Overrated. I do think I don't think the thing with Bucky's earned his morning Bucky and all that. It's all slow to me. You know, it's sad that he's gone and all that, but I'm just so taken out of the movie when that moment happens that this is the emotional beat that's not hitting for me. So I think it's a little overrated because of that.
Yep.
But that's once again, it's my taste and kind of a hot take, I guess.
All right. Your funniest moment.
As we talked about it already, I love when he does rescue Bucky, that whole exchange
Yeah.
of you were smaller. And then this whole, then he goes into is it permanent? No, I couldn't stop laughing at because they have to talk with each other while they're escaping at the same time. And Bucky's just like kind of going along with each. And then he sees a guy rip his face off. You imagine being in Bucky's shoes at this moment. Like the day before Bucky is captured by these guys, he sees all these futuristic weapons. All of a sudden, his best friend's there, who's now a super soldier, and then the bad guy rips his face off in front of you. I mean, Bucky's probably like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you put yourself in his shoes for a second, it's kind of it's a fun moment. So,
Well, my funniest moments come from the legend Tommy.
yeah,
I already talked about the rumbly tumbly one that didn't
yeah.
make me laugh out loud, but the one that I think made me laugh a little bit harder was when Steve gives Peggy a kiss, and then Steve looks down at Tommy as he's driving. He's like, "Don't look at me, I ain't giving you a kiss." I'm like, "That's
Yeah,
good.
that's
That's
funny.
a funny natural quirk that just
Yep.
it
He
forms
just
from a
knows
big
when to say it.
yeah.
It's not even a joke,
Yeah.
really. He
No.
just says it in his own curmudgeon way,
Yep.
and it's hilarious.
It's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
All right. Most emotional moment.
Mine, I think, is with the doctor.
Yeah.
I think that means a lot. Yeah. So your most underrated scene to me is the most emotional moment to
Yeah.
me in the movie. Should have been the Bucky thing, but the doctor one takes it from me.
Yeah. Well, I agree. If Bucky died better, then it probably would have
It'd have
been
been that.
a
Yeah,
little more of that.
yeah.
I put the Steve mourning the loss of Bucky because he is
I
mourning the
understand.
loss of his best friend, and you find out at that moment that the super soldier serum prevents him from getting drunk. So I think
Poor guy. Yeah,
that's an interesting. It's the same thing with the Hulk. The Hulk can
yeah. He
in
can't.
the Hulk form
Right.
he
That's
can't
right.
get drunk.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think that was a cool little like fun like you figured out something new about yourself in your grief.
Yep.
Anyway,
Agreed.
before we're gonna get into final scores, I do need to make one little shout out mention. We are still a new channel to the podcast, to our social media, and things like that.
Yeah.
And we finally have someone who did comment on one of our posts.
Oh,
So
wow.
by the way, guys, if you're just listening to this, we have a Facebook and an Instagram page. And when we're preparing for an episode, we put out at least 3 promotional little clip arts that says, give us your thoughts and feedbacks because we do want to hear what you guys think too as we're making our thoughts for this. And we finally got one for
Is
this.
this going to be a funny one?
This is
I can't wait till we get bad ones just
this
so we
is
can
an
laugh.
in-depth one.
Oh, no.
It comes from a guy who's a friend of mine named Raj. So thank you so much. Shout out to you, Raj.
Okay, here we go.
Do this. I'm gonna read your uh your statement here, your little mini paragraph,
All right, hey, let's
and
hear it.
we will answer them to the best of our ability, okay? All right. He writes, the biggest reason for loving Captain America was Steve Rogers. Not the super soldier, but just a guy from Brooklyn having all the qualities even without superpowers. That's very rare in superhero movies because any superhero movie is based on the transition of a normal guy getting powers and becoming a superhero. The character is so beautifully written that he never wanted to kill anyone, but hates bullies, hence a shield, becoming a perfect addition, showing he was always for defense and no kills unless it's necessary. Could you discuss one, his backstory, two, your thoughts on Cap moving Mjolnir in Age of Ultron? Was he bluffing to save Thor's pride, or was he not ready yet? And three, your take on passing the baton to new Captain Americas. Well, Raj, we did touch upon the passing the baton to new Captain Americas, and
Yeah, you know how we feel about that right
yeah,
now.
our
Yeah,
in a nutshell, our two senses, Captain America and Steve Rogers, are one of the same, and we
yeah.
don't think they should have been passed on.
Or at least the way they're doing it.
At least the
There's
way
a
they're
way
doing it. Yeah,
I think there's a good path that would make sense, but it also means really giving us a clear vision of what it means to have that mantle. Kind of like what my gripe is with the sword and what it means to wield the hammer. Sometimes I feel like those things are unclear in the MCU and we just take them for granted right up until someone else has it. And then we realize, oh, something's wrong with that picture. And yeah, so we don't, this passing it on is a tough one for sure.
yeah. What are your thoughts, Ike, on Captain America moving Mjolnir
Mew Mew?
in Age of Ultron? Do you think, according to Raj, was he actually bluffing to save Thor's pride because it did move slightly, or was he just not ready yet to pick it up?
So I'll be honest with you. I think this is one of those things that they don't ever want us to know an answer to, which is kind of fun because we can make our own canon of it, right? So nobody's ever going to be wrong. I will be completely honest. I think personally that I'll tell you what I want it to be, and I'll tell you what I really think it is.
Okay.
I want it to be that Steve realized he could and was like, well, I'm not going to do that to Thor. Because maybe part of Steve was like, I don't want to roll Asgard either. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that Thor kind of presented it like that. But the other part of me was like, I think it was just showing how close he is to being able to. Because I think, I think there's an argument to say that his journey from that moment to when you get an Endgame, when he does get the hammer in his hand, there's a moment in there that we could have a good discussion about maybe why I think he earned a title of being worthy enough to have the hammer. Once again, though, it's hard to describe that because there is no set path to, how do you earn having the hammer, right? So you know what? I'm going to give you a definitive answer. I think he just saved Thor's feelings and he could lift it. That's my I have to give you I'll give you the definitive answer of that. I'd like to think that he had to earn it towards the end, but then I can't give you a good example of how Thor ever earned it because all he had to do was stand in front of a machine and almost die and he got his hammer back. I don't know. Cap's been doing that since day one, since he jumped on the grenade in the very first movie that we just got done talking about. How he doesn't get to wield the hammer after that. What else do you need to do? So personally, I'm going to go with the fun answer. I think he went and it moved, and he's like, oh, guess not.
Yep. I'm gonna say
Because he kind of does give him that, yeah. And then, and even Thor's like, oh, man, yeah, oof.
yep.
But then I think Thor knows it. So then later on, when Thor's laying on the ground and he does it, he goes, I knew it.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. So I think I'm going to go with that one. That makes more sense to me. I like it. It's more
I think
fun.
the bluffing one kind of makes more sense. I don't know
Yeah.
if he did it to save Thor's pride.
I think Cap did. He's a nice guy.
He is a nice
I think he did it to save his pride.
and that
Yep.
I think he did it and he realized he could lift it up and he's like, I'm not gonna touch those waters.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the time and place for that.
I still think he was just being nice to Thor.
He probably was. It probably was both, to be
It's probably
honest.
both. You're right.
But,
You're right.
but part of me wants to say that he's thinking time and place, Steve. And now I know I could do this. I'm not going to.
You're thinking about it. When you get to Endgame,
he's to an Endgame.
Right. When you get to Endgame, he's pretty confident. He's just boom. Like he knows it's coming.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, oh, it's last ditch effort.
Yeah.
He's like, bam, got it.
There's no struggle. He doesn't walk up to it and try to lift it up, and all of a sudden he's got it.
No.
It's this.
It flies to him. He don't just pick it up, it flies to him. Yeah. So and I knew it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I like that part of it.
Thor says, I knew it, just as Thanos
kicks him like 9 stories deep into the ground. Like, oh my God. I've always been like, ooh. Every time that happens, like you knew it, but your face is gone. It's like now you're just, oh my God. It's like you just kicked your nose off your head. Like, oh. Yeah, no, yeah. So there's your definitive answer for me and him, for me and Sam. Yeah, he could pick it up for sure. Yeah. Which is awesome, right? That's what we want it to be.
And you asked for us to explain Steve's backstory, and thankfully this movie does it mainly for you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
There's nothing really too much more to ad lib on it other than he is this kid from Brooklyn who's too scrawny to be part of the military, and also had a laundry list of things like he has asthma, he has all this other different stuff that you see in the movie. You're like, the first one alone, he wasn't qualified.
Yeah, and then to add on to the emotional part of the backstory and idea of kind of what you touched on in your comments was he definitely, this is your prime, what it really means to be a superhero, right? Because we can always say the most favorite and fun and most emotional superheroes are the ones that don't have powers and they still do amazing things, like the Iron Mans, the Batman, who are just regular guys doing amazing stuff. Well, this is a guy who is given powers, but it's this whole against the bullies thing. That's what it's always been, right? And that's what I think in a general sense, comic books, even from the start, really were all about. You hear Stan talk all the time, or Stan Lee talk all the time about a lot of his characters were driven off of anti-bullying and all that. Spider-Man being a big one of that too, you know? And Cap is just a perfect example. It not only does it embody like this idea of the American dream and a pureness to being good and doing the right thing, but to stand up for what's right. And then I mean, this is not to quote a Spider-Man quote, but with great power comes great responsibility. And Cap takes that on even better, I think, than Spider-Man takes it on, right? So it's like it's Cap is, and it's funny because before I didn't like Captain America. He came off as Superman to me, not because of his powers, but he just kind of come off as that guy that kind of whips you in the butt with a towel in the shower room, right? He just, even though I know he was a good guy, but he just seemed like, how would you relate to a dude that's like this nuclear family from the 40s and 50s that just you're not gonna have a good conversation with a guy like that in today's age. But then the way they did it in the MCU and presented him with like that, where he is adaptable, where he does move forward, and he is who he still is, even from the core. And some of the phrases he even says later on in the movies are great because they remind you of how he used to talk when he was young. Like, yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
I feel the exact same way you do about it, Raj, that a typical cookie cutter superhero is an ordinary guy, gets superpowers, and decides to do good. Cool. Cap was doing good before the super soldier serum.
Yep,
And so that's what made him different than any other superhero. Is that no matter what, if he never got injected with that serum, he still would have jumped on that grenade. He
that's right.
still would have ran after the guy that killed his
That's right.
scientist friend. He still would have tried to save his best friend
That's right.
behind enemy lines. It's just he actually could accomplish those other things because.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see how and when he tells Doom he can do this all day.
Yes. All right. So thank you for that, Raj. And now we're going to move on to our final scores. And we're going to be wrapping up this episode in one moment, guys. All right. Thank you for staying with us. If you're stuck with us this long, please do what Raj did and comment on our posts. We really need it for the algorithm. And we will give you a shout out as you hear right now on the podcast. Thank you so much. All right. Ike, Multiverse Meter. Your story out of 2.
Oh, story out of 2. I give it a 1.5.
Me too.
Yep.
Characters out of 2.
I give it a 1.5.
I gave it a 2. Action and visuals out of 2.
1.
I gave it a 2. Emotion and stakes out of 2.
1.5.
I gave it a 2. All right, rewatchability and MCU impact.
I give it a 1 on rewatchability for sure, and because of that, I have to stick with it.
Yep, I'm gonna say 1, the same for me. All right, so my final score was an 8.5 overall. I think what would yours be?
Sorry, guys. There's too many things in it that I really had a hard time with, and rewatchability wise, I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
All right, so
I like the little sound you got. I mean, it's good. That's definitely gonna set that bar for that medium range going forward for me in some of these. Hey, still a great movie, guys.
all right, so the official Goodell Multiverse score is a 7 out of 10.
Not bad.
All right, not bad, not
You
bad.
know what's funny? It's funny. It's like you go a little high sometimes. I might go a little low, but when we average it out, you're almost like that actually looks about right.
That makes
That
sense.
actually looks about right. You know what I mean? Like,
Looking at
yeah,
the poster, I picture 7 out of 10 written down.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and post-credit scene, I'm sure is a 10 for 10 out of you.
Yep, 100%.
All right.
Fantastic.
So final verdict. Final verdict. Your one sentence final review.
A must see. Gotta watch it. Start to the Avengers.
Perfect. All right. Mine is one of the best origin films MCU has done, and good that they laid the foundation like they did.
Very good.
All
I
right.
like it.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for bearing with us and joining us for the Goodell Multiverse podcast. What are we doing next time, like?
So next time, guys, we're gonna have some news for you. We're not sure what that's gonna be yet, but I'm sure we'll come up with some juicy stuff. It's sometime throughout the week. I don't know if it'll be this week or next week, but it'll definitely be within the next 7 to 14 days. I'm gonna be putting up our first Dark Dimensions episode. I'm gonna be filming it in the next couple days. We'll see where we go with it. Also, we're gonna be doing a review of Daredevil episode 6, season 2. Let's hope it's not another Member Berries episode. And guess what, guys? We're there. We're gonna start our part 1. It looks like. We're going to try to split this up into 2 because this is going to be a long one to talk about. There's a lot of character stuff going on. We're going to do part 1 of Avengers, the first Avengers movies, guys. We're there to the first Avengers movie. We are marching right along here on our way to Doomsday, and we're at Avengers 1, part 1 of Avengers.
This will be the conclusion of phase 1.
That's right.
Officially, we finally made it there, guys. Thank you for bearing with us. And yeah, as I'm preparing my notes to get ready for in advance, I'm thinking there's no way in one episode we could talk about the first Avengers.
I didn't think we talked this long about this movie.
Oh,
So
yeah.
part 1 of it, we'll definitely figure out, guys, where the mid part is going to be for that, and we'll go ahead with that. So
Yeah. But until then, guys, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, and of course, we are on YouTube.
Yep.
So you can stream our podcast on Buzzsprout, on Apple, on Amazon, on Spotify, and of course, you can watch us on YouTube. Please like, please subscribe, please tell a friend, please help us get out there and help promote us a little bit. We certainly.
Yep.
All right. So until we see